map of
Okay,
of
recording
the
is now
sector.
going.
Basic map of the sector. Each hex represents a different
Server group assigned.
either a different star system or just a different area of space. And we'll cover like how to travel between systems and whatnot when that sort of thing comes in. Foster and Cloud have already rolled up their characters. You can see them on the Google sheet. Foster is doing a I don't know how would you best describe Ray?
Um, she's an xenobiologist, so and she has a dependent sister who she is attempting to find a cure for because no one seems to be able to cure her. So she goes out and finds species or subjects or unknown wildlife and plants and stuff and attempts to synthesize medicines using tech medical, and she's going to be acquiring a bioscanner. So, kind of like if a bounty hunter were going after, samples, kind of like that.
To make medicine.
To make medicine.
Instead of get money.
Instead of
The
getting money.
medicines that exist don't help her sister. He's out to find ones
She
that
has
do.
she has some exosuit training, so she's going to be after an exosuit because she figures that would help her on unknown, unclassified planets.
Yeah. So Ray's very much the surveyor / explorer type. And interestingly enough, she comes from a literal backwater planet that's very, very Bioshock-esque in that it's an ocean world, and the vast majority of the inhabitants live in bubble cities underwater, but they've regressed in technology since they were built. So maintaining said bubble cities is very difficult, and it's a very interesting culture if you guys ever manage to go to that planet. Twitch is another fun character. Let's hear a little bit about that, Cloud.
Yep. I am playing Twitch. He is a probably late teenager. He grew up with his father aboard warships and stuff. Well, as a comm crew. His father was comm crew. He Something has occurred in his past in regards to his father, which has caused him to go on the run. He has a robot named Max, who was stolen from the corporation that his father worked for. Reasons for that are yet to be determined. Whether it has some, I don't know. They have been chasing me for the Tanker Corporation has been pursuing me for several years about this. This is probably longer than what they should have been doing if I just stole a robot. So there could be something there. If there is, Twitch isn't aware of it. But he's been living on his own. He is a psychic. He has precognitive and telekinetic powers. And he's just been trying to make do, as it were.
So those are kind of the characters we've had so far. One note when creating characters, you definitely don't have to reveal the key parts of your backstory if you don't want to the other characters or to the rest of us. One thing is keeping baggage secret if you want. Totally fine. If we want to just kind of jump right in it, I know Victor was creating his mad engineer.
Yep, I've been working with him.
Very, very interesting concept. I really love it. There's definitely some things we have to go over, like concerning the goals, and then just some other things. But as a whole, I really do like the character, so don't be worried about that. A little bit of background about Stars Without Numbers and like the setting we're in, if you haven't read my post or looked at the guide, at the rule book that I've posted in the file share. In the default Stars Without Numbers campaign, it's basically a very human-centric campaign. We're going to be kind of changing that a little bit. And all of these various star systems were connected by jump gates, and something happened a while ago called the Scream, and there was this big psychic wave, and it shut down all the gates, and it kind of separated all of the worlds. Very, kind of very standard sci-fi, kind of Warhammer 40K-ish in a way. There's this term called Maltech. It's basically kind of what it obviously refers to, like bad technology. It's stuff that's been outlawed for various reasons. In default Stars Without Numbers, that mainly applies to AI, but like it can apply to weapons of mass destruction and other things. One thing that I'm probably thinking that's going to be considered Maltech in our universe is like unregulated nanotechnology. So that could be that'll be a thing. The changes I've made from the base setting, some of them get a little bit more complicated, but I think mainly it's just I've been trying to widen the experience a little bit. In the base campaign, you have the option to interact with alien races, but it's not like they're really integrated into the culture that much. There's like a bunch of human subcultures like we have right now, but that's really it. In our campaign, before the collapse of the gates, there was no faster than light travel other than those, so it took a long time for galactic society to kind of come together, and there was like a dozen or so species all sort of living together. And interacting with alien species is going to be fairly common, especially in the sector that we are starting in, Sector 14. It's kind of like the not necessarily lawless space, but very close.
Security ratings 2 or something.
Yeah, like very, very kind of low sec.
Low sec tropical paradise with orbital platforms.
As far as ships go, it's certainly a viable option.
We could take a look.
That the players can start out with a ship. I was not going to do it at the very beginning, and it mainly just to try to make it even more important and more of a big ramp up for your first ship should you choose to get it. There's definitely a wide variety of ways you can get a ship. Like you could, provided you are willing to break laws and whatnot, you could get a ship very fast. There might be some very, very heavy consequences for that, but that could happen. The other way, of course, is to somehow come across a ship during an adventure and basically inherit it or something, or outright buy one. I think the last option is probably the most feasible and what you guys will probably do, but that's just me saying that. I have no idea what the fuck you guys are going to do like 10 minutes after we start, so who knows. Even in the sector of space that you guys are in, there is some order, so you are able to basically get a loan or a lease or something to get a starship. You're gonna have to have like
own, yes, yeah.
As far as credits go, is there like a galactic bank or?
It's basically like there is in default Stars Without Numbers. There is something called the Exchange. At least in Sector 14, I haven't decided if this is going to expand to the rest of the sectors, but Hedeno is the banking capital of the sector, and any sort of transaction that you're doing in Sector 14, like it is the most reputable thing, and they've got banks on pretty much every world. Individual worlds have their own banks and whatnot, but it's all the only accepted intergalactic currency is the credit. So if you guys go to like a low tech world that is in the Renaissance, you're not going to be using credits because they don't have them. But it's fairly basic. And that, I guess that was one thing I wanted to talk about. Stars Without Numbers has technically kind of like an infinite amount of worlds you guys can go to. Not all adventures have to take place on planets. They could be on space stations. They could be on ships. They could be out in the middle of space.
Must have the ubiquitous floating dead spaceship Hulk that you must investigate.
Oh, that I am a huge fan of that genre. So that will come up sometime. Anyway, there are 5 tech levels that worlds and slash civilizations are considered. Oh, and yeah, Victor, we'll touch on that, but it could definitely turn into that. Like T0 is basically like Stone Age level tech. T1 is like anywhere from Bronze Age to the medieval ages. T2 is like the Renaissance. T3 is where we are now. It's kind of the modern age, and the main thing that separates T3 from T4 is the ability to create in default Stars Without Numbers is called the spike drive. I found the term and all of the terms associated with it, like drilling through space, somewhat clunky, so I just renamed it the light drive. It is the ability to create that and higher forms of power levels. You can say that if you want. It's mainly just you're out of phase. And T5 is a lot more.
Drives.
T5 is a lot more ephemeral in terms of like it's just like a really advanced society. T4 is the default galactic society. T5 is very, very rare, and it's basically the tech that civilization was at before the Scream. But one of the great things about these tech levels is you can have different sorts of adventures depending on the tech level. So this is something that I've often quoted to Foster and McLeod when we were talking about this. It's literally the most obvious sort of example. But if you guys ever crash land on a planet, and it's like a T2 planet, you're gonna have like an adventure in the Renaissance or something. Like you guys might be able to salvage lasers from your starship.
They might look at you like you're a god if you go about it wrong.
Yeah. So like you have psychic powers. Not all of these places are gonna have that. So there's like a huge variety of adventures that can be told in this game. It's what I am really most excited about because not everything has to be combat related. And like I'm not, this is not really a spoiler. I'm just going to give you a couple examples as to what some of your starting missions could be. There's basically going to be a jobs board that you guys can choose from. It's like the Craigslist of the planet, like help wanted. But not all missions and stuff are going to come through that. Yeah, exactly, Akari. But like obviously illegal missions are not going to be listed on the jobs board, or missions you get through friends or something like that, or missions you decide to make up yourself. But
User left your channel.
Oh.
User joined your channel.
I was like, Victor has gone.
and he's back.
Whoops, sorry about that. I just clicked the wrong button. I apologize.
It's fine. The jobs board is mainly there if you guys get to a point where you're not doing anything, and you don't want to go through like the black market or something, and you can just kind of peruse through this stuff and say, oh, we've got options here. So it's certainly not something you have to use.
It's the
And,
oh god, I have no idea what we're doing on this
Yeah.
planet. What's
and
available?
I like to phrase it that these are not planned adventures; they are prepared adventures. I have no plans for you guys. You guys make your own plans. I just have stuff that I have prepared, and hopefully,
You build the framework
hopefully
and we do
some
stuff.
of it, hopefully some of it will be relevant, but who knows? You guys will probably take things in directions I didn't expect. But examples of missions from like your starting jobs board, like there's a mission where you head out to aid in the salvaging of a ship, but it's not like you're doing the salvaging. Like
You're hired help.
You are hired help to an insurance actuary who is overseeing, and he wants you guys to actually kind of validate everything that's going on by the salvage crew. That is not a combat mission. It's something could happen during the mission, it could turn into it, but like it's not like something that you would normally expect as a combat mission. Coming up in the next month in game on the planet you guys are going to be starting on, Centron 5, there is a big race. That is not a mission, but it's going to be something that's happening, and if you guys are still on the planet at that time, it's something that you guys could be affected by, or participate in. So, like, there's a shit ton of stuff. It's not all about going out and killing, and one big thing to mention there is the experience system. You do not get experience for killing shit. That is like a big difference from every other RPG that we basically play. The only ways you get XP are you get a certain amount of XP for completing a mission that you have either accepted or I have basically kind of given you. If you guys get stranded on a planet, I am kind of giving you the mission that you need to get off the planet. So like you're not going to be getting paid for that, but you're sure as hell going to still get experience for it if you actually get off.
I think the book says that somewhere that your character's reward for killing somebody is your character's continued existence.
Yes. It's one of my favorite things about the game, because in other games, like, you're basically encouraged to kill all this stuff. And in this game, combat is very dangerous. You're warned in the manual that Stars Without Numbers, early level characters can die very, very quickly.
Put it this way,
So-
you have as an expert, you have 6 hit points. A submachine gun does 1d8, plus 2 if it's in burst fire.
Yeah.
So, 3 out of 8, you're dying. Or 4 out of 8, you're dying in one hit.
Yep.
So,
So, a lot of it's going to be playing things smart, avoiding fights if you want, getting the drop. Like, surprise is everything. And combat will maybe only last 1 or 2 rounds. You also...
User joined your channel.
The other primary mode of experience... Oh, there's Recluse. Hey, man. The other primary mode of experience is... are these things called goals. You're technically, at least nowhere I could find in the rulebook, limited to just 3 of them, but I've decided to kind of write it there so that...
3 seems fine to me. Anything more than that, it gets kind of crazy.
Yeah, like, I mean, if you've got a whole bunch of them, I don't want people making up crappy ones. Goals can be short-term or long-term. It's literally something you write for your character yourself. And it can be something as simple as go out and upgrade my weapon today. And that will be a really easy thing to do with low risk, unless it's like an illegal weapon. And I basically assign the XP based on what I think, the risk is and what I think it's worth and how off the cuff it is. So something easy like that's going to be worth a low amount of XP, but once you complete it, you just write in a new goal. So like that's those short-term ones are kind of your constant XP that you can do, and they're stuff that you are reasonably well assured that you can complete. At the beginning or end of a session, you can change your goals. So if you haven't completed one and it looks suddenly like you're not going to be able to do it, you're not locked into it. The longer-term goals, which is something that is definitely on Victor's character sheet, are things that are much more grand and large in scope and potentially very dangerous, but could be vast amounts of XP and reward. Like they're
Like Victor, like what would be step one to making your AI?
well,
Instead of, yeah.
well before we break down Victor's goals.
Oh, I'll just for example, but
You can-
if you oh shucks, sorry.
you can always basically kind of set your goals up in steps. Like I want to do this, and it's eventually going to lead to this. But like if you've got a big goal on there, you could get several. You could get like a level or two of experience for eventually completing it. So it's all about how you write them. You want to be kind of concise, and before they get I'm basically going to approve them, and I will work with you to make sure that it's something that you're going to be able to accomplish somehow. And I'm gonna assign the XP for it. If it's not a goal, if it's something that like, I think there should be more XP for this, then you could just write a new goal in there. And the third and final way of getting XP is the belief system. That's something not in Stars Without Numbers. I decided to add myself that I had seen elsewhere. It's a little bit. It's very similar to goals. It's a little more. I don't know, not quite as
Ephemeral.
straightforward. Yeah. It's basically you set a belief for your character, and you can, like the goals, change this from session to session if you want, or you can keep it. You kind of set something out really simply that kind of governs your character's actions in some way. Like, my character is a loner. He likes to do things himself. That's like a really standard kind of easy one there. And what happens is once per session, if you are taking an action to act on that belief, if it is requiring some sort of roll to be made, it doesn't mean you have to succeed at it. But if you are making a roll in pursuit of your belief, then you will get XP. So like I think... What was a good example? Foster's was remain loyal to your friends, for without others life is meaningless. A little poetic, but basically, like, if at any point there's like a combat situation where somebody might be left behind and it's like a really big risk for him to go back, or if somebody's captured by the police and he puts himself in jeopardy and has to make some sort of roll to convince them to let him go, even if he doesn't succeed, he's going to get the XP for that. And it's another thing where the easier and more straightforward it is, it'll be worth less XP, and the more dangerous it is, like Victor's goal or Victor's belief, the more XP you'll get. And like I've said before in other settings, leveling up is not going to be concurrent with all players, because everybody's getting XP at their own rate. And it really doesn't matter what level you are, because the primary way of playing this game is role-playing it and making rolls on it. And, you might get some cool abilities or bonuses or something, but at the end of the day, if you're in a really bad situation and you've got a couple level 4 characters and then you've got a level 1 character, that level 1 character still has as much chance of affecting the outcome as the others.
He just might die a little bit easier.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
it's
The
combat,
health thing is the biggest difference, but it's still that's kind of it.
and like just because you're at 0, you're not really dead. You do linger for a couple rounds, as long as the book puts it, you're not hit by a tank's main cannon. You have a chance to be resurrected, sort of.
So, do we have any questions about that sort of stuff? I know I was talking for a while, and I went from subject to subject.
Is there any list of like official homeworlds, or are we just kind of basically just creating them?
As
Yeah.
far as that, this is definitely a custom universe. It's how it is in Stars Without Numbers. I have a planet directory that I've come up with thus far. It is not filled out. There's going to be somewhere around 30 worlds in your sector. You do not have to choose from one. You can be from another sector if you so wish. You can also basically make up your world. I've purposefully not filled out the entire planetary directory so people can, if they don't like anything they have to choose from, make up their own. That's what Foster did. Cloud chose one of the ones that I had already made. So, if you're indecisive about it, I can suggest things to you that might make sense, or we can just kind of go through and you will basically help me build your planet. And that's kind of how a lot of things are going to go in this game. I am setting up the background lore. You guys are going to be setting up the individual lore. Like, I know this person from here. Well, I may not have made that as an NPC, but you basically just introduced this person into the campaign, at least through talking.
It's one of the interesting things that like culture can do. For example, if you were on like Planet X and you're in a spot of trouble, and it's like, oh, well, I know this person here. Let me roll culture to see if I can call them. If you actually succeed on that roll, a NPC will likely be created there on the spot that you could say how he relates to you.
Yeah.
If you roll badly on that roll, the NPC might still be created, but he might be hazardous to your character's health.
Yeah, the example given is in Star Wars when Han is trying to find a place to lay low in Episode 5, and he basically rolls really low when he goes for help from Lando. Like, Lando was his friend, but the Empire was waiting for him. So this definitely doesn't have to be all like discussion about the game systems.
All the
definitely
rolls
wanna...
are like tiered success or tiered failure.
Yes, that is another thing. There is no mega list of you need to roll this for this. Basically, there are a few things where it's like suggested rolls, but for the most part, I am given a tiered list, and it's basically based on how easy something is and how easy or feasible I think it is. So you can even argue what attribute applies to that, or what skill applies to that role as well. So it's literally like you are RP arguing what the roles are going to be. But if we want to keep talking about the game system, we certainly can. We can take a break from it and work on the individual characters. We're definitely going to need to get those out of the way at some point. I don't know how long everybody can stay.
It's fine. I'm fine with going to characters if you want to do that. I mean, Foster and I have already mainly made ours, so.
So that makes it easier for the people who still making them. So who wants to go
Am I the
first?
only one who doesn't have a character ready?
Well,
Victor just kind of started slapping his together yesterday, so there's a couple things we got to talk about. But
we gotta do.
Yeah.
We should probably get Akari's stats out of the way, if nothing else.
yeah, let's go ahead and get your stats. So, I think Star was doing it with roll 3d6 6 times, and you get 3 sets of that, and you pick one.
Oh,
Of the
Yeah.
You don't have to roll the dice individually. You can just type 3d6, and it'll actually list all 3 there for you. Yeah, like that.
Click. Yeah, that link.
So I've rolled in roll d20 one set of rolls. Do you guys see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's why we're using it. So I just rolled one. Do you guys see what I rolled?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay,
see.
cool.
You need to roll 3 sets of that 6 times.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm just putting that
I
up there to
see-
separate it.
I see basically 5d6 there.
One,
So,
two.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need one more actually.
all right. Well, actually, the thing is, all right, you need to roll 6d6, and you're going to do several sets of those, because the minimum score you can have, or it's going to be 3d6. I had this better explained on the forum.
You're going to roll 3d6
Six
times in chat.
Yes. Let's get that out of the way first. Your first rolls, we're just going to wipe those because they were 1d6s. You can't have a 1 on a roll. The minimum stat you can have is a 3.
Like, for example, one set would look like this. Oh, shit, I've actually put slash rolls on there like I'm a freaking idiot. Like, that's one set.
You rolled awful on
That's
the third one.
that's awful, but
Holy crap!
that is fucking awful.
Wow.
But
This is why we're
that
rolling
would be
3
a
sets
set.
of those.
That's why you're
Alright,
getting
so-
3 sets. So
Yeah.
this will be
To
set
explain
one.
it, each roll you make is basically what one of your stats is going to be. You have 6 stats, so you have a set of 6 numbers. There are modifiers like you can easily see those on the character sheets, like -1s and +1s. If your set comes out to equal 0 in terms of modifiers, or no, less than 0, you will be allowed to re-roll up to 3 times. So,
Like,
total,
set's
you
a
can have
-3.
up to basically six roll or 6 sets. So let's get your stats out of the way, and we'll do your first set and roll 3d6, and then just do up enter. Just do it 6 times.
Okay,
Ooh.
so that's
That's a good start.
1. Yeah.
That's one of
That's
your 6
one
sets.
one of 6 of
Yeah.
3 times, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And we'll pause between sets to delineate them so they don't get mixed up. And nobody type during this, so it gets messed up.
I'll type when he does the 6th one, but delineate it.
All 11s, all the time, baby.
That's not bad. Yeah, oh, yeah.
All right, that's your first set. That's not too bad. You came so close to getting an 18. Plus, the only way you can get a +2 mod in this game is if you roll an 18, and it's very hard to do.
And you will be able to change one of these into a 14.
Yeah,
So-
we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
Once you use everything.
we'll get
Yeah,
to that.
let me roll them all. And I'm assuming that sometime in the character progression, these numbers can be adjusted.
No.
I mean, can be increased.
They do not.
No,
be
they stay
increased
the
at all.
same
They stay
regardless
the
of
same.
level.
Yeah, it's permanent.
Oh.
But stats are there's only -1, 0, and +1 in this. So
Yeah. All right, so roll your next 6. It's the March of the 11s. Oh my God! How many 11s does he roll? That's crazy.
Well, the
All right.
11 is really average on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty statistically average. So
That's still funny. All right, now let's do your third set. All right, I don't think any of your rolls qualified you for a reroll.
the first one, well,
It's +1.
it's +1. Yeah. Now mine would have
Yeah.
because it was -3.
Let's see here.
The
You technically have plus
They're all
Two
plus one.
+1s. Yeah, they're all +1.
The bottom one's a +2.
No,
No,
but it's got a
-1.
-1.
Okay, yeah.
That's 6. Um, which one you choose is basically up to you. Most of the stats are only used for the mod that they kind of represent. There are a few things,
Right.
though, to note. Strength is purely based off of your score. So if you were intending to do like a warrior or something, and you wanted
To carry a lot of stuff.
like 17 strength, the 17 strength would still only be a +1, but it would give you an incredible amount of carrying capacity. Those are, I think there might have been something with
Constitution comes in
Con.
with system strain if you want to be a cyborg.
Yeah.
Or if you're trying to breathe underwater for a
Yeah.
period of time.
Yeah. Constitution, your number is brought up in a few kind of rare places, like how many minutes you can breathe underwater. So, in essence, since all of your rolls were a net +1,
And charisma is how attractive you are.
yeah, I would recommend you take the first roll or the first set just because that 17 could be used to give you an exceptional minor kind of stat.
Or if you want more average, you do have a 16 in the second set.
Yeah,
So.
that's true.
What's the breakdown of what the modifiers are for all
They're
these
on the
numbers?
character sheet.
Yeah, if you're
18 is a +2, 14 to 17 is a +1, 8 to 13 is 0, and 4 to 7 is -1, and a 3 is a -2.
Where is this on the sheet?
Right above
the
the attributes.
Oh, right
where it
above.
says
I
strength,
knew
says
that.
attributes.
Yeah, I tried to include as much information in there as possible about actually building the character. So, like, an example of how 17th strength would be really kick-ass is if you look to the far right of the character sheet, your readied items is equal to your strength divided by 2, rounded down, and then your stowed items is equal to your strength store. So you could have 17 items in what is
Well,
basically your backpack.
17 units of encumbrance, quote, quote.
Yeah, 17 units of encumbrance. It's not tracked like pounds like in D&D. It's a lot
Like a
more
laser
loose.
rifle is 2.
Yeah, I kind of gathered some of that.
So that could definitely be a big thing. One thing to bring up, and I see you're doing a warrior. If you look at the top of your
warrior.
sheet, you've got prime requisites listed. That is strength and dex. That means that you can replace one of your primes with whatever score it currently has with a 14. So let's say you went with strength 17 just for an example, and you put one of your 11s or whatever your lowest number from that one roll was into your dex. You would basically replace that with a 14, and you'd have a net +2. So you'd have +1 on strength and +1 on dex.
Oh, that would be the thing to do then.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I mean, you can tell by how we've been talking about it. You can set these numbers in any order that you want.
Right.
Yeah, you'll probably need to re-roll, Victor, just because it was a little bit confusing on your sheet when I was looking at it. You can manually adjust your numbers, but only to certain thresholds. Numbers that are below 8 can be raised up to 8, but only if you subtract points from numbers that are above 13. So, like, it basically means you're mediocritizing your character. If you've got one score that is a -1, and you've got a couple scores that are +1s, you could kind of lower one of those +1s down a few points and put those points into one of your lower scores to bring it to a 0. And I think one of the only reasons why you might do that is if we were playing this strictly and I wasn't allowing you guys to do multiple sets, which I am. But the other thing is, like, let's say you had like, let's say you had rolled an 18 on that strength instead, or dex, or whatever you want to put it into. If you had rolled an 18 on that, but you had like a -1 somewhere, and you really wanted to take that 18, but you didn't want to keep that -1, you could basically lower one of your other stats to kind of raise that.
The default in the book, basically, you roll your set, and they have to be done in the exact order you rolled them. So, so he's just letting you put it where you want. You kind of give up the ability to modify it a bit.
All right, so you feel free to enter in whatever set you want in whatever order you want, Akari. Yeah, let's just for the sake of simplicity, Victor, we'll just have you re-roll. So everything's all out in the open. You might hit an 18.
That's absolutely fine.
All right, so here's Victor's set 1.
How do you roll them? You just do the slash roll like
Slash
Mega
roll
Man?
is
yeah.
3d6.
Look at
Yeah.
All right, there's a 12.
it takes a surprisingly long time to roll the dice.
You've
here.
got
It's
visual
just-
dice
this is a-
on. If you turn it off, it'll go quick.
Yeah. If you turn visual dice off, it'll be really, really fast.
I'm not even. Oh, I see the dice. Okay.
The 3D dice. Like, click on
So
the
if you
gear.
have visual dice on, it'll roll the dice, but it literally waits for the dice to roll.
Give me
Before it
one
tells you the
second.
number.
Yeah. Click the
Turn
gear
it
and
off.
uncheck enable 3D dice, and it'll go really fast. I know. I
there we
know
go.
they're cool and all, but
No, that's ridiculous. I was like, man, it's taking a long time to make a roll.
All right, so
I guess
there's
that's
your
set
first
one?
set. Yep.
That is a bad set.
well, it's 8. Not bad.
God, I'm having some bad dice tonight. I guess that's set 2.
Well, remember, above an 8 is a 0. So
Technically, that second one's a -1. So you get to reroll that one.
Ooh, that last set was nice. You got 1 -1, but it looks like
Plus
3
3?
plus ones.
It's +2
so you're-
overall.
Yeah.
Oh, the 7 was on Constitution. I'm okay. Well, actually, no.
Well,
whatever.
yeah, you can-
you can put those where you want the way he's doing it.
Yeah, also,
so,
you can put that 7 into, like, whatever your prime requisites, and it becomes a 14.
Yeah, that's the thing there. You would basically have
a +4.
plus, yeah, a total of 4 plus 1s. That is a very good last roll.
Copy that. So I can. So are we putting each one of these stats into the stat that like the order it was rolled? or are
No,
we
no,
going
you
to-
can choose whichever order you want.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I told
that's
you
awesome.
he's doing it differently. Than
Yeah,
what
I
Well,
meant
you
this.
can re-roll the second one if you want to try to roll for better.
Yeah, if you've got a reroll, I highly recommend you do it. Just on the rare chance you roll 666s.
Which one can I re-roll? The 7, or do I re-roll something?
First.
You
one, I
basically
think.
re-roll the entire second set
Yeah, it's
because
second
you
set.
had a grand total of -1.
All right, I'll give it. I'm gonna re-roll the second set here. I'm probably gonna use set 3. So just a second here.
Yeah, there's no reason why you wouldn't try to roll for better. Doesn't look like it, though.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna
Yep.
stick with set 3. That was way better.
Yeah, so basically, Victor, whatever stat you want the highest to be in, put that 17, and then for your other prime requisite, use that 7, and we'll just change that to a 14. And you basically made out like a bandit on your stats.
Welcome to the Made Out Like a
Copy
Panda
that.
party.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, the same thing happened with Cloud.
I'm probably gonna have my charisma of 14. Then is what I should set it to. that's the other prime stat of the experts. That's
Well,
what I should
The
put
prime
this under?
stat doesn't really make a difference. It just the reason why those are primes is because expert covers a wide range of stuff. So you could have someone who's a charismatic rogue that has completely different skills from a tech. So like you might have someone who's good at like language and perception and persuade, profession, that kind of thing. Those would be more charisma based than intelligence.
Like a politician would still be an expert.
Yeah, it's an expert you could consider as Han Solo or as, I don't know, like some strictly tech
What I
based
meant
character.
was you said something about the prime stats, being able to put the 7 into a prime stats and convert it to a 14, and
Yeah.
I think so that would be basically putting in charisma then, probably bring my charisma up to 14. So
The prime stats are
okay,
basically
that's all I had to make
what
sure.
most of their class skills are based on.
Yep.
Yeah, the tech just gets basically everything as a class skill, just about.
Yeah. Like for the warrior, it's strength and dex, because melee weapons use strength or dex. Well, it depends on the weapon. And ranged weapons mostly use dex. But mainly it's just, as long as it's a +1, it'd be fine.
I think all the ranged weapons use dex. It's just some of the melees you can use strength instead.
I think like there's like if you get like a big hammer or something, it'd be strength only.
I might actually bump my constitution up a little bit higher than I originally had it with the 16 roll, just because I think that figures into how many cybernetics you can eventually take.
Your
right?
system strain maximum is equal to your con, and cybernetics add permanent system strain.
Excellent. I think I'll definitely probably.
And that's
do
the other thing. Cybernetics are incredibly expensive.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely aware. It's a
Yeah.
very long-term goal.
So I did want to mention that, Victor. I think those goals are fine. We'll have to talk about what you want to do as a distortion gun. I'm going to say you can't start out with an AI, mainly because the way I view AI in this universe is like it takes the computer processing power of like a small starship computer. So like you might have your blueprints for the AI on your data slab or something.
Well, the way I pictured it right now would practically be almost like one of those chess computers slash that kind of thing. It's kind of where I was looking at it being at the second.
That's a little bit more doable. I would at least make one of your current goals a more temporary thing so you can get some XP. Like find a crew or something like that. Just something that you can reasonably be assured of completing in your first session. But certainly having one long-term goal or maybe even two does not hurt. I would personally recommend having one long-term and two short-term goals. And you can always use those goals that you are not using right now as future long-term goals later. They will be worth a shit ton of XP because AI is super fucking illegal. And
that's what I was reading. And it looked like it was a pretty illegal thing to be developing. So.
And that's the other thing. Like the way I read your belief, I am totally okay with you having a belief like that. It's like the way I kind of read it is you're going to be, in order to fulfill that and get XP for that belief in a session, you're going to be taking some sort of action to further the future of AI, or because there's, it's just something to do with your belief in unbreaked AI is going to cause you to make some sort of roll.
Also, I don't want to dictate the way your character is going to be played, but I'm just noting that unlike BattleTech, your like persuade skills and culture skills might actually be useful to you. Like, if you get in trouble with the law, right now you have 0 talkie skill, so to speak.
You don't have to just talk your way out of it. He can think his way out of it, probably.
Yes.
That's perfectly viable.
Just noting that, but...
Oh, I agree with you for sure on that. The only reason he's like that, I kind of picture him being a little, I guess, awkward that way. I wouldn't really picture him being a smooth talker.
Perfectly fine to play a character with no communication skills, Victor.
Yeah, you
Note
definitely
if you get
bite me on
into
the
those
ass,
rolls,
but-
you'll be rolling at a -1.
Yeah, that is one thing
Oh, yeah.
I want to make sure everybody knows. If you do not have training in something, you don't have a 0 in it. You have a -1. It'll be left blank on your skill sheet, but if you are rolling untrained in something, you'll have a -1 to the roll. And I will most likely let you attempt pretty much anything untrained, but there may be a few situations where if you do not have training in something, you'll either get more than a -1 penalty or something along those lines, or you just can't do it.
You can't
But-
roll tech
But
pos
you don't
tech
want my,
that you don't have to reassemble the nuclear reactor.
You don't want my character performing surgery on somebody?
We were talking about that. You can do it if you want.
But you need like a 12, or you hurt them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going specifically to your skill choices, Victor, am I correct in assuming that you chose basically the adventurer for both training packages, like the custom thing?
I didn't know there was a custom one for the background, which is why I was
Yeah, if you
requesting
go
a
to,
substitute for the NG snipe. But let me take a quick look here.
The background only gets 3 skills. You get Culture World or Culture Spacer and any 2 skills.
Yeah, adventurer is listed as the first thing. You do not have to write adventurer on your sheet. You can say custom. You can say what you want to be like. Mad engineer, in parentheses, custom. And that's basically going to be understood as being the background package for adventurer. What should be noted
The
is that
penalty
the
for
custom,
yeah.
the custom penalty for both the background package and the training is that you get less skills to choose.
Like, for
So-
example, backgrounds are usually 4 skills. Adventure only gets 3. Techs get 8 skills from a training. The custom only gets 6.
I'm trying to pull up the PDF file here so I can take a look at the skill packages. Maybe adjust that.
Starting
there.
on page 13 for backgrounds.
Oh, and if you need the books, Sakari, they're in the channel.
Yep, they're in the channel browser. They're
Oh,
free books.
He doesn't have
so.
file access.
Does it?
Yeah,
How do we give them that?
I think we can just
Right
give
click
it
him and
to
click. Right click him and click give file access. That should fix it.
I should be able to do it here.
Where
Under the
is-
permissions.
There you go.
There it is. Yeah. There we are. Now you have file access.
Yeah, the supplemental martial arts book is something I have not looked through personally. If somebody is interested in that, they are more than welcome to go through it. I have not read through it thoroughly, so I can't make any sort of snap decisions. But I would say I'm amenable to using that if somebody wants to,
Yeah, I literally
unless
just-
there's something specific.
I just found that last night, and I put it there because it seemed related.
And the one that I included in there, I have highlighted what I thought was key passages. One thing I will bring up again, please do not read into the GM sections of the book. It's mainly for your sake, because there's a lot of tables in there that determine what is found on planets, and I don't want it spoiled for anybody.
I'll bring it back.
So basically, don't read past page 78 where it says Game Master Guide.
Yep.
That all the beginning is equipment and skills and stuff like that.
Really, adventure is kind of a weird one because it does culture world and culture space.
Well, it assumes that you're at very least going to have culture for your basics, your starting world. You had to know something about your society.
Yeah,
copy that.
the benefit there is you can choose any 2 skills. The drawback is
Get less
on other
skills.
packages you get 4 skills in total. One thing to really mention here is cross-class skills can be very expensive to level up. And let's say you are a non-combat class, or we don't even have to say that. Let's say there's a skill that you want that is not a class skill for you, and that is represented on your skill sheet by being in a solid box. Everything that's black, basically, is a class skill for you, and you can get for initially 1 point. the cross-class skills are much more difficult to get. But if you get a skill in one background, in your background, and then you get the same skill in your training package, normally both are setting that skill to 0. But if it's listed in both, they stack, and you start at a 1. That is very valuable if it is a cross-class skill, because normally that's like it's either 5 or 6 points of experience to get to that level of a cross-class skill. So your initial starting packages actually make quite a bit of difference in terms of what you can do. It's not permanent or anything, like you're not locked out of doing these things, but it's definitely the time to take advantage of it, because there is no cross-class penalty for skills in your background packages. Another kind of thing to bring up in the same regard is if you have, let's say, combat projectile and combat any from the same background package, you cannot stack those. You can only stack them if they are from 2 separate packages, like your background and then your training package.
So, for example, if you have if you have, say, soldier or something that says combat any, and then combat projectile, you can't make the any combat projectile as well. It has to be something else.
Yeah.
You can request a sub, but you have to argue with Star over why that would be a change and why that person would have that skill.
Yeah, basically what we did with Foster's was he wanted to be a xenobiologist, and they only had xenoarchaeologist, and every skill that he wanted was the same except for one. And I didn't think it was that big of a difference to make him take the custom class. So I let him basically sub one of his skills for that. If it's more than that, then I'm going to have to say you're probably going to need to take a custom. But if it's something that meshes up almost 100%, then it's probably not going to be a problem. You need to talk with me about it. As far as the engine crew, let's see here. Gambling and culture spacer for tech, maltech, and computers. Let me look to see what it actually has.
And if you notice, very few packages have tech maltech.
Yeah,
I think scientists might be the only one.
I don't think
does.
any of them have Tech Maltech.
Yeah, you're not gonna get Tech Maltech as part of a.
Because the thing is,
background
someone would have had
package.
to have trained you in it, and no one will train you in Tech Maltech.
Yeah,
Very few.
Not even researchers let you have Tech Maltech. The only way that you are gonna start with Tech Maltech skill
Is scientists.
is, well, yeah, unless you basically take the custom one.
Yeah, if you can find training in Tech Maltech, it's probably like this introductory course to Maltech, and that you don't ever want to touch it ever.
You know,
course.
This is the theory of Maltech and why you shouldn't do it.
Either that, or like you are the secret apprentice of some person who is really into Maltech. Like they took you under their wing and they taught you everything they know about Maltech. That could all be wrapped in under adventurer and customized. Otherwise,
Could your character just be like from North Korea or something? Like I don't know.
Well, it's supposed to, like, Maltech, and this is, like, stuff that is capable of destroying an entire world type things. You know, like a bomb that could destroy the world. An AI, if it really wanted to and it was bad, could really destroy an entire society. Kill everyone on the planet, for example.
Other things, like, not everything that's just purely destructive falls into Maltech. It's literally stuff that, like, AIs, unregulated nanoswarm drones, things like that could utterly wipe out an entire civilization if left unchecked.
Have the possibility to, which
If
is
you
why.
are if you are dead set on having Maltech as a skill at the very beginning, you will have to do at least one custom. Like, you don't have to
Oh
do
yeah,
it with both.
I did the custom for the training package, so I'll definitely keep it there. I'm just trying to figure out my background package stuff right now. I'm taking a
For
look at it.
background, Culture Spacer is like knowing what it is to serve aboard ships and stuff. I would recommend you. I mean, that is a useful skill. I can see you not wanting to have gambling on your background package because maybe your guy was just not the odd man out of the engineering crew that didn't like gambling, and he didn't like participating with the other crap of the engineering crew. I would let you reassign that one to, like, computers.
User disconnected from your channel.
And post-tech in this is like anything that is modern tech that isn't covered by one of the other skills. So like like for example, like building a robot would be post-tech.
Fixing a coffee maker is also
Fixing a
post-tech.
coffee maker would also be post-tech. Pre-tech is like all the super high, like if this were Battletech, it'd be lost tech. That's what pre-tech is.
I don't think culture cyberspace is a thing, is it?
Oh, it's not? I'm sorry. I was thinking it was just like you could put whatever in the slash
No, there's
category.
a subcategory.
Yeah, culture
list
space
under
is
it.
fine.
The cultures that are in here. What is that?
Let me adjust it then real quick.
You have culture alien, culture criminal, culture spacer, culture traveler, which is like a special, unique club, and culture world. Now the world is a specific world, so you have to fill that one in.
That's what I thought was the like the
Star
fill-in
is
ones I
adding
realized.
a culture sector, which is kind of like a smattering of various alien races and stuff that are
That
in
makes
that
sense.
area.
Yeah. A quick rundown of how aliens and languages and stuff are going to work. When you take culture alien,
It's one alien.
yeah, it's one alien culture, but you basically know how to either speak and understand, or at least understand that culture, or understand their language, and you know enough about that culture to where, like, you could comfortably survive on their world, like, or interact with them. You're not going to make any big faux pas or something. You can take language and take it as an alien language, but you are literally only learning the language and nothing about the culture. Culture sector, which is something that I've basically made up for this, will give you enough skill to understand and communicate with the aliens common to your sector, like very common to your sector, in like a passing kind of touristy way almost, and give you a general understanding of their cultures. So you're not going to be able to like hold in-depth conversations with them, but you can communicate with them in some way. So like culture
Hold up cell
sector,
phone.
yeah, culture sector is certainly the most utilitarian, the most efficient. Like if you want to have speak as many things as possible. And you can take multiple ranks in these things. So you can speak multiple culture alien languages
So
if
yeah, like
you want to be really specialized.
If you have culture alien and you take rank 2, or like if you take another rank in it, you get more things. Like
Yeah.
culture world, upgrading the rank in culture world gives you another world.
And one thing to note is you get one additional language per intelligence modifier. So if you have a +1, you basically start out with 2 languages.
Spike and Light Riders would be tech astronautics.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I don't know why the engineer crew doesn't have that. I
Did
think
you
that
look
would.
at technician?
Because the technician is the general catch-all for fixed stuff.
It gives you culture for a given world, exosuit, and then any 2 tech skills except Maltech or Scitech.
Let me take a quick look.
Fuck.
I do not. I am going to be putting up a post tonight on the forums. Is basically a guideline about how languages work. Basically, what I've told you here, and then what is included in your specific sector's language. Like, I have a list of species that are common to your sector right now. You're basically going to be able to communicate with the ones that I will list in this language post, because they have their actual homeworlds in your sector, and they have like certainly the most population there. So if you take culture sector, I would just say at this point, it will be very useful. I can't tell you. And the other thing is, it's still going to apply out of the sector. So if you take sector 14 and you guys end up going to like sector 3 eventually, and there is a Riolan or a Priothan there, well, both of those races have homeworlds in sector 14. And so you would know enough about them to communicate with them very clearly, or at least enough, and you would know enough about their culture to communicate with them. So it's not like it just applies in the one sector. It's kind of like a specialization to what species are from your sector. And I know it's a little bit confusing, and it's mainly because the base game does not have stuff like this. You have other alien races. Well, it does.
But not many.
But like, you're not supposed to be in like a coexisting living space with them. They can be friendly. They don't have to be hostile. But I really wanted to kind of change it up, especially since we've been playing BattleTech and there's no aliens at all. I figured let's be able to interact with them. And one other thing to mention is that while you guys all basically are starting as human, at some point in the campaign, you will kind of unlock the ability to make a character of an alien species. It has to basically be one that you have interacted with enough to kind of understand how it is. Like, if you guys get a Priothan member of your crew, after several weeks or several months, I would say you guys are familiar enough with them that one of you could play a character like that. And if you decided to re-roll a character, or one of you guys died, you could come back as one. Or you could even come back as the one that's currently on the ship. So,
and on the alien companions.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Did you get the PDF, Akari? So you can look at the stuff we're talking about?
You acquired Space Dog. It has 8 legs. Oh my god.
The manual, the book.
Yes.
Yes, I have that.
The one thing, Victor, you post-tech is definitely like extremely useful, and I would say it actually does, like, astronautic does kind of fit an engineering crew a little bit more. I'm not sure why that is. So in this case, yeah, I will let you substitute astronautic for tech post-tech.
I'm still going to take post-tech in the skill
well,
package.
that was what I was going to say, is I'm going to highly recommend that you have some sort of ability to make post-tech, because otherwise you wouldn't understand how modern machinery works.
Oh, no, definitely. I definitely want to take that in the skill package. I'm probably going to do the choose-your-own skills, even though they get less of them, just because I can't really see anything that fits so far. I'm taking a look, but I was just thinking background-wise, it made more sense if I'm working with an engines all the time that I should have the skill related to engines.
Yeah, I think that's actually an oversight on their part. So, Culture Spacer, Exosuit, Computers is basically what you're subbing. for gambling, and astronautic really I think should have been in the skill list to begin with instead of post-tech.
Copy that. Thanks, man. Yeah, I was thinking it felt more like it should have been the skill that they had given the description there. Especially since the exosuit apparently is specifically for being able to go near the reactor core to start messing with stuff.
Yeah. Exosuits. Exosuit
Well,
actually applies to multiple things.
Exosuit in general is assault suits or actual like exoskeleton suits. There are space suits which still do give radiation protection but don't require a skill.
Well, exosuits are also used for industrial purposes, is what he's getting at.
That
But the thing is, with skill and exosuit, you can also use assault suits or power armor. Power armor requires a skill level 1 in exosuits, but those are the same kinds of things that are applied in the same skill category.
And then Twitch was the only player who wasn't skilled in exosuits.
Well, one thing to mention, and I talked with these two yesterday about this, is you guys, one of the reasons why I started you off in a sector that was, well, not lawless, but very free, is so you guys can kind of get into the universe without a whole lot of trouble in terms of regulations. But even on some of the more civilized worlds in your sector, you can't just go walk down the street in power armor, because it would be the equivalent of like walking into a bank wearing what the guys in the North Hollywood shootout were wearing. Like, why are you wearing that bulletproof vest, sir? Could you please step out of line? That said, like, weapons are very common. Most common, like, portable, handheld weapons, shotguns, in some places, like rifles, like assault weapons and stuff, are fine. Like Centron, the place you guys are going to be starting out as, is sort of like a cross between Mos Eisley and what we were playing Solaris 7 to be. The planet is an ocean world with only a couple 100 million inhabitants, and then it's very much kind of a luxurious, protected world in that sense on the planet itself. But in orbit, it has a very, very, very massive shipyard that was left over after the Scream. And in the centuries since then, like a gigantic amount of other space stations have kind of cropped up around it. So much so that there is like a population of 400 million in space stations living in orbit around Centron. And those are kind of like the independent, not necessarily lawless, but it's just like, it would be like what anarchists sort of ended up getting if they just said, we don't want a centralized government, but we are going to impose some rules like no murders and raping here. And if there is a security force, it's basically hired by the neighborhood. So there will be advantages to not running around in battle armor with weapons that can shoot tanks. Yep, that looks good, Victor.
Cool.
Very interesting. Akari, have you, I haven't looked at your sheet lately, have you given any sort of thoughts to your background packages?
Not so much to the packages. I mean, I've looked at some and kind of toyed with them. I'm not really certain what I want to do yet. So.
Do you know what sort of character, at least, you want to play? Like, are you going to be a mercenary, or like a former police officer, or a soldier, or just like a thug, or what?
Still kind of deciding.
All right, no problem. Definitely no rush.
What skills does wisdom do wisdom cover here? Actually,
Wisdom,
Perception.
it is universally the most confusing thing in any game because it is really mislabeled. It
Usually it seems to
covers
apply to, like-
perception, but it also covers willpower, like strength of will. I think it really should be broken up into two separate stats, but it never is.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was like, mostly for psionic characters or if it was like
It definitely is for psionic characters, but it's also for, like, let's say you've got a soldier who has been in combat for a really long time, and he is like ultra perceptive. He almost has like a sixth sense about things. Like he would have a high wisdom. It doesn't really have anything to do with being wise. It has to do with like, perceiving the world around you or perceiving emotions in people, and also having a strong willpower of your own.
The interesting thing about this system is that there is no set, like, this is governed by this. If Star feels that it is one or the other, he will tell you which one that it would be governed by.
The only exceptions to that are, like, the weapons and stuff very clearly spell out which skills are relevant, but they often give you an either-or. Most melee weapons can be, their primary attribute will be strength or dex. So if you have a low strength character, but who might have a lot of dexterity, there's no reason why he wouldn't be good in a knife fight or something. So you would basically apply your dex. You get to choose which attribute you apply. And yeah, it's exactly as he said. In terms of actual skill checks, it's usually going to be the most obvious thing. So if you're rolling like tech astronautics
Intelligence, probably.
to fix something, it's almost certainly going to be intelligence based.
But if it was
it could,
really precise, it might be Dex.
Yeah, it could be Dex. And I will suggest that, but you can describe to me how you are going about the task and lobby for the use of a specific skill or a specific attribute. I will say, like, it sounds like you're using, and then that's another thing. When you are doing something, you don't have to necessarily say, I'm going to use tech astronautics or tech maltech or something. You just say, I'm going to try to fix this. And I will say it sounds like you want to use tech maltech. Is that what you want to make a roll on? And if it's not, then you can try to, persuade me as to what skill you want to use.
Yeah, that's completely fine. I'm not sure if you're looking at my sheet right now, but does it look set up correctly now as far as the skills and attributes go?
Let me look. I'll have to double check the skills, but nothing stands out glaringly. Like, any skills that you've doubled up on are obviously set to 1. Yeah, let's re-roll your credits.
I think I can't remember what the roll is. Is it a 1d6 or?
Yeah, roll 1d6, and you multiply that by 100, and then you add 400. But just roll 1d6.
Oh, you're supposed to multiply that? I thought I started with 800 credits. Period.
No, well, basically you roll 1d6, and you multiply that 1d6 by 100.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You get 400 by default, and then you get an additional
I
1
see
to
what you're
600.
saying. Okay.
So you could
Yeah,
have a
right,
minimum of 500 or a maximum of 1,000.
I rolled exactly what I rolled last time.
All right.
Ironic. So I wound up with that would be 800 credits, right? I think is what it would be.
Yep.
Originally, what I spent the money on is I bought the 2 computers, and then I also the rest I said I threw into parts for the construction of a distortion weapon / upgrading the AI.
Yeah,
Noting,
that's
it's not a compu pad. You basically bought a smartphone.
Basically, I bought a smartphone and a tablet.
Yeah.
It's a
Kinda what I
compad,
bought.
which amounts to a smartphone.
I bought that, and I also bought the data slab. Is what I use my
It's just
primary
it's
money
a
for, and then the
communications
rest
pad. It's not a computation pad.
Figured I would need a collection of junk parts. I'm never going to try to assemble anything that's I would be working towards. So that's why I just threw the money into a quota, just miscellaneous parts. Not sure how you'd want to handle that.
Well, it depends. How bulky are the parts?
I was thinking that the way I was reading the distortion weapons and the when I was looking through, they're a Tech 4 weapon, but they're based on the spike drive. Well, I guess light drive now that we're calling it that. But
I think they're a Tech 5 weapon.
I think it was Tech 4, surprisingly. I figured I would try to create one, even though I didn't have necessarily Tech 4 tech to work
Tech
on
5.
it. Oh, they are Tech 5. Well, that's definitely a very long-term kind of thing. I don't necessarily think I'm going to have a distortion weapon in the next day or two or anything. That's why I've been, taking various jobs and trying to hang on to some spike drive parts when I can find them. And
Yeah, sorry, I was not listening to that conversation. I was going over something with Akari. I heard something about the distortion weapon. As far as the part, like buying the parts go, I'm going to say you can do that because that's basically you sinking money into something that's not going to directly benefit your character right off the bat, and that's I encourage anything that's out of the ordinary. As far as actually making it though, it's going to be very involved.
Absolutely. In fact,
and
I was thinking that it might.
What sort of weapon are you thinking this is going to be?
Well, originally I was trying to create the distortion gun that's in the actual weapons list. Is what my character would be setting out to do, but I'd be willing to diverge into other types of distortion weaponry, given his general, ethics and viewpoints on things. So you might actually be looking to make a distortion bomb if you can't make a effective distortion gun. But I'm not sure if you saw it. Basically, in the PDF file here, it states that it's like a weapon that uses jump drive technology to just basically screw up everything in front of it in short range. Even if they're behind cover.
They've got those for ship grade weaponry too. Being Tech 5 going to be very difficult. I'm not going to say it's impossible though. And this is probably your best bet at actually getting one is making it yourself. Tech 5 you cannot reasonably rely on running in the campaign.
I should probably even say, even just instead of distortion gun, just distortion weapons in general, to try to research anything that would be using that technology, that kind of thing. You're completely. I'm not expecting to have this anytime soon.
We'll definitely say you have parts for it, or at least not a single gun, but parts to mess around with. And in the future, when you are trying to to actually research and develop and stuff, you're going to get a significant bonus, and I'm actually even having them there is going to let you do that. If you didn't have the parts, you basically wouldn't even be able to make the check or the roll or whatever.
I'm probably trying to expand upon that collection of parts as I go along too. If we cross any ships that have any drives, for example, like an abandoned ship, I might try to rip some parts out of it that would benefit towards the creation of something like this.
Yep, as long as you have a place to put them.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. I figure I bought 400 credits worth is where I put the rest of the money.
It's worth noting, are you carrying your parts around?
I put those in the stowed, little checkbox there, and I put the 2 computers at the ready because I'd be carrying on me.
Right. Well, one thing to note is stowed is literally what you are carrying in a backpack or really well distributed pouches and so forth. Readied items are what you're wearing, what you have in a holster, what's in your pocket, stuff that you can get out instantly. Readied items you can pretty much always access, which is really good. It takes one standard, I think it's one round to access stuff that is stowed. So you can be walking around with a shit ton of computer parts in a backpack. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it because it'll come up like, hey, you with the backpack of tech parts, like, or it might come up in the fact that like you're walking around and it makes a lot of noise.
Well, to be honest,
What
I'd
I
probably
did-
be more likely to stow this stuff on the ship if we have a
Oh,
ship,
yeah.
or stow it at some location.
Stowed actually is on your person.
I think I might adjust that thing. I meant
Yeah.
to. Meant
Well,
to
what
say
I
it'd
did
be
with
like,
what I did with Foster is because Foster has some excess gear that his character uses to capture creatures. I came up with a storage locker that you could basically just rent out, like generally like what you would find at a train station or something, and it's simply 2 credits a week. So you can basically say you have a storage locker rented out somewhere and have your stuff in there.
Is it
And
a
if
week? You told me a day.
I think I meant a week, because I think there was a rental, like like a bus. It was like a mass transit pass is 2 credits a week, and so something like that.
Alright, well, I adjusted
I would-
mine then.
I would say it's really cheap.
definitely put a note on it. I probably wouldn't be carrying these around all the time. I mean, these would be like the stuff. I mean, I've assembled
If you
over
look
the
at
years.
Foster's sheet, he basically has like a really simple box at the bottom of the page that is for a storage container. If you want to just copy that in and put it into your own sheet somewhere, certainly feel free. If and when you guys eventually get your own ship, or if not a ship but a resident somewhere, or even just like a vehicle with a storage space, I will put a Google Sheet in there on the Google Sheets that you can address or access, and you'll basically all have your own rooms, and you'll have like what is stored in each room, and you'll basically keep track of stuff there.
Cool. Yeah, I just copied Foster's for the meantime. Moved the tech parts to that. Because I mean, yeah, I probably wouldn't be carrying up. I mean, I'm assuming some of these parts are probably kind of bulky, and I wouldn't have any need to be hauling them around on me all the time. So the computers I probably would never put down, but.
And this is not on the topic of character creation, but because you've brought it up several times, and we just kind of mentioned starships. It's not in the base rules to technically have like bridge stations, but it's certainly not against it. And what I've been doing is for starships, I have subsystems, and people are going to be in charge of various subsystems, like maybe. There's the helm subsystem, and then there's the computer core, and there's engineering and whatnot. And those subsystems will basically have a chance to be knocked out during combat once your ship gets to a certain damage state. And it's not in the basic rules, but we want to kind of expand it a little bit to get a little bit more depth. And if you guys are in space and in a combat situation, one person with the skill for it is going to be the pilot. One person's going to be, the communications officer, and maybe that same person who's the communications officer might also be the navigator or something. It just really depends on, like, who has the skills as to whoever is filling the roles, and certainly where it is aboard the ship. But you guys will definitely have different roles to fill on the ship. If something gets shot during combat, it's not, like, totally destroyed usually. It'll just be damaged and possibly non-functional. If it's something vital, you might have to send somebody to repair it, and stuff like that. And certainly people will be making gunnery rolls if you are a gunner.
You have a con +1, so your max HP is actually 7.
Oh yeah, that was one other thing. Normally, when you level up, you don't
It's
take
not
your
additive.
con. you don't take your con and you don't add the roll. What you do is you roll what is listed for your level. Like if you're a level 2, it might be 2d8. If you roll that and it is, and you add your con mod to that roll, if you roll that and it is higher than your current HP, that is your new HP. So there will be some levels where you roll and it'll be roll lower and you will remain the same. It's a little bit, not necessarily unforgiving, but it's kind of extreme in some ways. But I've decided to give you all max HP at the beginning. You don't have to roll for it. So whatever your hit dice is, if it's D6, you are starting out at D6 and you are adding your con. So if you have like a con of +1 and you've got a D6, you're starting out at 7.
So, for example, if you start at 7 and next level you roll 2d6 and get 6, you stay at 7.
On the flip side, you basically have the chance to almost double your HP every time. And I will say that NPCs generally do not have more HP than you guys do. And something also to bring up is stated clearly in the rulebook, like sentient NPCs are not going to fight to the death unless they have some very specific reason that makes sense. So if you guys get ambushed by a bunch of thugs somewhere, they might run away when they get down to like 60% HP. Of course, you might even just roll a high enough shot to kill one in one shot, or maybe one of you stabs one and does enough to get him down to 2/3. He might surrender, he might run away. So it's not always a fight to the death, and since XP is not determined by what you kill, like you're encouraged to act intelligently and act like you would in real life. Like if people are starting to surrender, that's a good thing for you. It's not like, oh, they're starting to surrender, we're not going to get the XP for not killing them. Damn it. So anything you can do to reduce their morale is also a viable thing. I will be keeping track of their morale during combat. And even non-intelligent things are going to behave like they would in real life. If you get set on by a pack of wolves on some desolate planet, they may stick around a little bit longer because they're not quite as intelligent, but the odds are they are not going to stick around until death. Conversely, if you back them into a corner, they will most likely fight to the death.
A wounded wolf is not going to want to fight unless it has to. stuff like that. I know wolf is a general term. Space wolf, quote, quote. But you said wolf, I thought of like a wolf with like 10 legs and 2 mouths. Space wolf.
See, my mind said space wolf. My brain said zergling. No, wait, those are completely different.
Don't land on that planet if you can't. If you do, get the fuck out. But the cool thing about warriors is that, oh, this guy just hit me. He was going to do 16 damage to me. That roll didn't happen, okay?
Yep, everybody gets special ability. And like you just said, the warrior can, once per combat, negate a successful attack made against you. And you can wait until the damage is rolled. On your sheet, there's like a little box with an X in it. That's basically your token. After you used it, you just delete the X. And that basically represents that you have used that ability for combat. And as soon as combat is over, you put that back in there and it's recharged. The expert has something similar. Can re-roll like any failed skill checks once per in-game hour.
And combat is not a skill check.
Yeah. But you could use a skill check in combat. So, and then psychics don't get something like that, but they get psychic powers.
Sort of balances out a little,
Yep. One thing I haven't really talked about is psychics. Psychics are going to be a rarity on most worlds that are low tech and which have not had much or any interaction with galactic society at all. I'm not going to go into like the reason behind why psychics exist. Even the people in the universe don't know. Really, it's attributed to MES, which is like multi-dimensional something syndrome. It has to do something with light drives and moving people in and out of phase and whatnot. So,
well, they have to get treatment for it, right? So the low-tech worlds don't have a clue, so people just die.
Yeah, that is another very good point. We only have one character that's a psychic right now, but just for the sake of explaining this to everybody, if you're a psychic, you basically have to take meds to, deal with this syndrome that you have. But I am not going to be tracking this. Like, I'm not going to make you pay for it. It's basically the equivalent of something really cheap you can pick up at the mini-mart. The only time it will ever come into play is if you are somehow cut off from a normal supply. Like during the often cited, you crashed on an alien planet, and I will basically, depending upon what your circumstances are, like if you're in an escape pod, you're probably not going to have too much in the way of supplies for your MES.
That's when I go and I find a plant or something, and I synthesize.
If you are in a ship, you may have like a lot. I will basically kind of arbitrarily determine how many days of supply you have. But it probably won't come up. If it does, it's going to be handled like that. Well, one thing along what you guys are talking about, you guys are starting on Centron 5, but there's basically two Centron 5s. There's the planet, and then there is the orbital mess. Like, thousands of space stations all linked together in a really shoddy kind of network. And all the space stations have little mini starports and big starports and docking facilities and stuff.
You mean it's Akron's favorite place in the world?
Yeah, basically. And it's the place where you go to hide. Like, there's security, but only protecting certain things. And it's, like, paid for by the people who want the protection. So there's not, like, guys patrolling the streets looking for fugitives. Not usually. On the planet, it's a bit different. Like, they don't have elected officials. It's like prominent citizens basically run their communities and whatnot. Not getting into a whole lot of detail about it. But what I'm getting at is you guys can either start on Centron or in the orbitals. I am trying to have prepared adventures for both. Some of them will probably involve both places. I had somewhat assumed that you guys would be on the actual planet, but you guys can make the decision to start in the orbitals if you heavily so wish.
It's really the planet. In my case, but not much life on the orbitals.
Yeah. The planet is an ocean world with a bunch of large islands and very small continents. And most of them are connected by grav trains. It's a fairly low population planet, but it's also fairly ritzy in a lot of areas. Hence the like the jets, like they're basically jet fighters on water. That's what they use for this regatta that is coming up. And even that place has its own seedier environment, mainly associated with the starport, but you guys can start it either as you wish.
My choice in starting location will probably depend how heavily Tankai Corporation exists on the orbitals.
They may have a small maintenance office or something somewhere, but not like a production facility. And they would basically have it here as like
I mean, if it's like
sales rep.
Orbital 15-2, brought to you by the Tankai Corporation.
No, definitely not. Little bit more background on Centron. Centron, like you guys are located in the independent sector, like the independent systems. It's called the Arcus sector, but it's the independent systems. And unless stated otherwise, you can assume every planet is individually governed. There's basically one kind of group of alliance of planets, but they're like, they're independent to this sector, and it's like there's different laws depending upon the planet and the system and whatnot, and you might even have a system with 2 different planets that are inhabited that have different governments. That's Foster's home system's situation. Oh, and yeah, you can totally create your own stuff. Every planet that we're going to be using in every alien race, in every faction, and every corporation is generated by me. They have a generator for it, which I use, but a lot of it is custom tailored.
Cool, good to know. I don't think it'll be any trouble to make a decent background here. I just wanted to hold off to kind of find out what the situation was.
I have a list of corporations that I have created that you can choose from if you want to be related to one. The list is also just basically going to be there if you guys go shopping or something, and you're like, I want a Tankai Corporation Mark 7 processor for an upgrade to the Astro Survey bot or something.
There might be brand loyalty.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
So a lot of it is going to be created by you. Like you can go to a shop or something, and stat-wise, it's just like combat rifle. Like they only have the same stats. But I will say, like this is a Whirlwind Mark 7, and then this is an adjudicator or something. And like I will probably have them have mostly the same stats, but I might tweak them somewhat. Like this one might have 2 more rounds per ammo. This one might do +1 more damage. It's not strictly in the item database, but in order to try to make it feel a little bit more alive, I'm going to do that. And you guys are free to describe things pretty much as you wish as well. I might override you if it's something that's totally out of character to the universe, but that's basically it.
Like I made a quote that I'd like to have a P90. That'd be like a submachine gun, but it's got a 50 round clip instead of 20. Maybe a minus somewhere, I don't know. Maybe it's heavier.
It probably holds a lot of bullets, but I expect the caliber's probably lower.
Or maybe it's like 50 bullets, but it's encumbrance 2 instead of encumbrance 1.
Actually, I'm pretty sure the real P90 is just pretty much better than most other SMGs, which is kind of funny.
Well, it's bigger.
It uses 9mm ammo, right? Most SMGs use bigger?
No, it uses
the same.
different types.
Well, it can use the same. It depends.
9mm is the standard, though. Yeah, you're right. It's the same as like most SMGs. P90s are nice weapons.
Yeah, regardless, the SMG that's in universe only has a 20-round clip.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, though. Different kind of companies might have different strengths and advantages to their weapons.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
All right, I'm going to go AFK for just like 2 minutes. I will be right back.
Cool. I actually had a question when you get back, too, so...
Oh, well, what's the question?
I was wondering if we have like a hook for what we're going to actually be where we need to be to start. So I think in the thing where we should probably...
Everybody, well, I'm not going to ask you this now. This is probably going to be a tradition when you go to, like, when you have somebody new. When we start, I am going to ask you guys, why are you specifically there? You guys may not even know each other. I am going to try to steer away from the standard you guys meet in a bar. I had toyed with having you guys be mid-mission somewhere. So you are going to determine why you are where you are. I think we already did this a little bit with McLeod's character. He is running from the Tenkai Corporation, and it sounded like he had just kind of floated here eventually, trying to remain anonymous. But you could be here for a specific reason. You may have been dropped off by some asshole who stole your money, but at least he gave you a ride. You are basically free to make up details about like character situations as you wish, and you can even talk to each other about having cooperative backstories if you want. You don't have to do that. And one other thing is you guys do not have to be cooperative. You guys can have rivalries. You can have grudges against each other. It's up to you guys to make things work effectively, but you don't have to all, like, just because somebody decides to go do something, it doesn't mean everybody has to say, oh, well, I guess this is a good idea, just because one of the party members decides to do it and you don't want to burst their bubble. Like, we can always split up, and we'll be basically running things simultaneously. And I will be right back.
Yeah, it happens a lot in this type of thing. Particularly since there's not a lot of combat, and combat that does exist is very like you shoot them, they shoot you. I mean, you can interact more than that, but there's really no grid-based system. So it's really more like, okay, meanwhile, what are you doing over there?
Oh, dude, when I run games, like, people who split the party get fucked up.
Yeah.
I do not approve.
Yeah, but the thing, in this sort of game, it's kind of expected that something like that would happen. Most of the time, the party's probably going to stay together, but there are circumstances where it doesn't. I mean, I agree. I've DM'd D&D a lot, and splitting the party is usually
I mean, there's just a
bad.
huge amount of work on
Yes.
the DM's part, yeah.
Yes.
So people who split the party when I'm running a game generally get some kind of, divinely inspired smite put upon them. Asteroids or something falling from the sky and crushing them.
Yeah.
The Earth opening up and swallowing them.
That sometimes happens, but if he wants to run a game like that, then so be it, I guess.
Yeah, power to him.
Well, it depends on our actions too. We don't have to split the party. It might happen. And just remember, in this game, death is very sudden. if it comes to that, but
Yeah, it's worth
you
noting,
have the slight advantage of being able to re-roll. One of those
if
things
your
that was about
characters
to kill
have
you.
extra money, Lazarus patches are probably a good investment.
Well, I guess
I think our Red Pack could probably be carrying around some of those.
I've got
Hopefully
two.
you've got some.
I got two in a med kit. They're like 30 each, man. They're expensive.
I think you're gonna probably want to get kill. I don't know. At least a dozen of them.
I'm seeing those like potions. You need to be popping
And-
those things like
Well,
candy.
They're
Well,
not
they don't heal
potions.
you.
They don't heal you. They restore you to
resurrect
0
you.
hit points.
Oh, they don't actually heal you any?
The healing in this game is very
Ooh.
brutal. It's basically your hit points per day if you're not at 0. If you're at 0, you roll 1d6, and that's how many days it takes you to get to 1.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
No, I think that
I
we'll
just
probably
came
want
in
to
on
get
the
some more
tail end
of
of
those
that.
packs.
I believe there is some psychic healing.
Yes, there is psychic healing.
Unfortunately, your psychic is not.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's totally fine. It doesn't mean that you won't have a party member that has it or an NPC. One thing
Is there
I want
sexual
to
healing?
Definitely want to get some more
that
of those.
that would be Apocalypse World. Tune in on Saturdays when D&D is canceled. One thing I wanted to mention, kind of in regards to like player risk, since we kind of touched on splitting the party and stuff. When you guys like kind of choose to do that, if you choose to do that, it's not like in Dungeons and Dragons where I have a dungeon prepared. I've got 6 monsters in that corridor and 4 over there and shit like that. And if the party splits up, well, the DM's watching from above and he's like, oh shit, this one guy is walking in and there's going to be 6 guys there. It's going to be me describing the world and I have NPCs prepared, but how many thugs they have or whatnot, that's just totally dependent upon the situation. And if somebody decides to go into a den of pirates, that is a den of pirates. If they're trying to go there by themselves, like, I'm really trying to promote a sense of, if you would not do something like this in real life, don't do it. If you are going to do something, take precautions. But splitting the party up and like saying, well, we're on this ship and somebody needs to get to the bridge to drop us out of light drive before we get to this system where we know we're going to get intercepted. But at the same time, there is an alert somewhere else that like the life support is going to be shut down. We need somebody to go down to damage control, and isn't somebody like being interrogated? Maybe we should send somebody to go deal with that. That sort of situation is not like instant death. It's all about how you approach it. And if you go into like a situation, if there's not just going to be a bunch of guys who are just going to instantly shoot you unless it's specifically called for in the situation, like they have formed some sort of blockade in the corridor and they've got their carbines lined up, you're going to get some sort of hint that is around the corner or that people are doing that. And anytime there's going to be extreme danger like that, I'm going to tell you that there are guys with guns, on this floor, or I'm going to try to give you some sort of hint to that.
He might tell you after you make a computer check to access security.
Yeah, that's true. But in general, I'm going to describe the situation for you. And I would not treat any aspect of that description as fluff. A lot of times, GMs will be like, oh, he's a powerful wizard. Be careful with him. But he's actually just a level 5 wizard and you're the same level 5, but he's powerful to those peasants. That's total bullshit because he's not very powerful. That is not an apt warning. What I would consider is like if that guy's level 10 and you're level 5, and like what in that case, like the peasant's like, he's a freaking ass powerful wizard. Do not go to his tower. He will turn you into a toad. In the way that normal RPGs kind of do it, it's almost like the DM is crying wolf when they're trying to warn you of something. And so you can never be sure when the DM is warning you. Every time I tell you something, it's not necessarily a warning, but it is factual. So if like somebody believes something is dangerous, like it doesn't mean that it's like a level 7 character. But any person with a gun is dangerous and they can kill you. So just try to approach things not from a game standpoint, but from a role-playing, a situation standpoint.
Oh, also, if anyone's gotten to that point yet where they're buying equipment, if you're buying armor, lower numbers are better.
Oh, yes. That is one thing I guess I definitely need to go over.
God, that throws me for such a loop every time I look
I know.
at it.
Once you get used to it, it's fine.
I get it. It's just weird.
The way attack rolls work is you roll 1d20, and you add your skill modifier and your attack bonus and whatever other sort of bonuses you have, and then you add the armor class of the target you are shooting at. And that means that the higher number that you are adding is more beneficial to the attacker. And any roll 20 or over is an attack success. So if you roll an 11, but that person has an armor class of 9, it just got bumped up to a success. Better armor has a lower AC, so you are giving your opponent less of a chance to hurt you. Some armors only apply to weapons of tech level 2 and below, and some armors apply, to everything. And it's not just an armor class rating, really. It also represents how hard you are to hit. Like if you were small, like for instance, Max, Cloud's robot, I decided to give him a really high or a really low base armor class because he is a tiny ass robot, and it's going to be really hard to hit him. He has 2 hit points, so like he could feasibly survive a punch if somebody rolled a 1d1 or like a 1 on a 1d2, but that's about the only time he's ever going to get hit by something and survive.
Well, in theory, like a pistol could roll 1, but
Yeah, but a lot of pistols have like a +1.
that's true.
You could technically get like a 1 on a 1d6 energy pistol, but all classes or all humanoid characters, unless like there's some like alien with dermal plating or something, start with an AC of 9 if they are wearing no armor, and you subtract your dexterity bonus. So if you have a dex bonus of 1, that goes down to 8 if you are wearing nothing but regular clothes. If you have an armor that is rated 5, then you have an armor class of 5, and then you subtract your dex, and then you're down to 4. I think the way they set the system up was so that like when people were rolling, they would just know, oh, it's a 19 or lower, it's a failure. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I've certainly played more like horrendous situations with the Megamex role-playing thing to where I can appreciate it at least that it's simple.
But yeah, when you roll your attack roll, are you trying to be like golf? Do you want to roll low or do you want to roll high?
You want to roll high.
You want to get over 20.
Yeah, 20 is the number for success.
Basically, the only
and I
difference
think
is
that's what they were going
instead
for.
of armor
Oh, I
class
see.
modifying the enemy's defense, it just gets applied to your attack roll.
Yeah.
Look at it this way:
Okay.
you will always know what the enemy's armor is because the DM has to tell it to you before you can roll.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't think it adds any complication to it because in any regard, in like D&D, the DM has to factor in the enemy's AC, so it's not like it's adding an extra step. And creatures don't have hidden armor classes. Like it's not like
Yeah, it takes a little bit of the metagaming out, I guess.
Yeah. And that way, you can just watch for the 2 in front of your number, and you can know instantly if it's a success.
Yep, you know instantly whenever you rolled whether you succeeded or not. It's not, I rolled a 15, did I win?
It takes the whole "did I hit him" out of the combat. It's did you roll over 20? If you rolled over 20, you hit him. Grats. It speeds it up a bit.
There also are no critical hits, and there are no critical misses.
I thought I read in the book that there were critical hit, critical miss. I mean, maybe we don't want to play that
There
way. I don't know.
are auto successes, but there aren't critical successes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
If
I'm
you roll
thinking
a
an
20,
automatic
you've
success,
met the
not
20 right there, so you did hit him.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking of.
But there's no, like, bonus for doing so.
Thank you for clarifying.
As deadly as the hit point system seems, I don't think you want critical hits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your head
good
explodes.
point.
You are not
As far as
recoverable.
skill checks go,
A fine red mist.
I am definitely encouraged against making you guys roll on everything. It's a problem in like a lot of things. Like Bunko in our Dungeons and Dragons game makes us roll constant skill checks for everything. It gets really tedious. If it is something that you can do, like easily, like anybody can accomplish, you don't have to roll a skill check for it. If it's something that you can accomplish, but it might take some time, as long as you're not in some sort of critical situation, then you're not going to have to roll for it, or I will just make you roll for how long it takes, like 1d6 minutes, or 1d6 hours, or days, or whatever.
For example, like if you were upgrading your computer in real life, and you had all day to do it, and you had the parts, do you think you're going to fail at that?
Now you could probably make an argument that you could if you were an idiot and had no skill in it, but that's not a situation where everybody could do it.
Well, for example, like in Cloud's example, the book describes skill levels. Like 0 is a trainee, so you might have to make that computer check in that case. But 1 is a professional, so
Yeah.
you might necessarily not have to make that particular check.
The biggest
in that
difference
case.
in that sort of regard is if you have any sort of training at all. If you are untrained, then I may have you roll checks for things that otherwise you wouldn't have to.
Yeah, but you're not going to roll a computer check to check the morning news.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And as far as how skills ramp up, it's very simple. Like, I have a skill difficulties table right here. It's got no check. It's got 6, 8, 9,
I've
and
read
so
that
forth.
table. It's hilarious further down the list.
And it's like, as an example, it's let's see here. Cleaning a dirty weapon is no check. Cleaning a rusted pistol is a check of 6. Cleaning a corroded laser pistol is a check of 8. So that's like a little bit more complicated. Cleaning a corroded Sci-Tech weapon is a 9. Recognizing that an alien weapon is corroded and then successfully cleaning it is an 11. And then last, 13, which is like, you have to have some sort of modifier.
You're professional.
Turning a corroded alien bath attachment into a weapon. So it gives you an idea as to, most of the time, you are probably not going to have to roll over a 9 or something. Like, the 11 and the 13 are definitely, if you're doing something obviously very hard.
That for the computer.
Yeah.
13. Fixing a broken computer using basically what amounts to peanut butter.
Yeah. Fixing a computer with native cheese spread.
Basically, it's like based on what you're trying to do. There are some things a legendary skill person might be able to do, but he'd only have a 50% chance at it. Stuff like that. Because, example, he would have 1 skill, he'd have a 5, he needs 12, you know what I'm saying? Or he needs 11. There might be times where it's almost impossible to do. If depending on how we describe it.
One thing also, if you are doing something, and let's say you've got like tech post-tech, and somebody else has tech post-tech, they can assist you with your roll. If they succeed in their roll to assist you, they will give you a +1 to your roll. In most situations, I'm basically just going to say one person can assist you, but it really is based on what the situation is like. So, for instance, if you're like doing something that obviously a group of people could assist you with, like pushing a car or something, then everybody could basically assist you. But if it's literally something like a check to hack into a database, then you don't want too many people just like hovering over your shoulder or something. So like maybe only one person will be able to help you. But it gives bonuses to the fact that your party is going to have 2 experts, and then your psychic has some tech skill. So in a lot of situations, you guys are going to have overlapping skills, and provided you are in the same place at the same time, you can help each other.
Yep.
Did you roll for credits, Akari?
I haven't yet. No.
Yeah, it's something you might want to do. It's D6, isn't it, I think?
Yep,
Yeah, you guys want me to do that now?
Yeah, go ahead. Not bad.
Not bad. All right. I'll
You
take
get
that.
900 credits? Or that's
800.
800 credits.
800 credits, yeah.
Nice.
All right, so we've talked a lot about kind of general things. we still got to get Akari's character squared away, but there's no rush on that. While he's going through that, is there anything that anybody wanted to bring up, like a question about the game, how I'm going to run it, like a comment, like, or what you're hoping to get out of this? This is definitely going to be a group determined experience. I'm going to be, determining a lot of the lore and stuff, but you guys are going to be taking it in the directions you want to take it.
Well, Twitch's current thing is that he's going to try to be escaping the Tenkai Corporation. My only thing I haven't determined about that is exactly how long they've been chasing me. Because, I mean, I stole a robot, okay? I kind of think that this might be something like my father's, like, maybe my father did something and he's like, here, take this, and run type of thing. So I don't know why. But if it's a long time they've been chasing me, how long is someone expected to chase someone over a robot? That's the biggest thing with me right now.
How long have they been chasing? Well, I guess, how old are you in the game?
I'm going to go about 19-ish.
And how long have you been running?
Ideally, probably 3-4 years.
Okay, so quite a while. So whatever it is, like when was the last... Again, this is a lot of what I would normally ask in the first session, but since this is something that kind of determines what your goals are going to be, when was the last time you actually ran into Tenkai? Like, when was the last time you got any sort of inkling that they were still chasing you?
That would depend how long I've been on Centron, probably, because they're most certainly the reason why I left Faro.
Well, have you been on Centron long?
Probably no more than a couple months, I would say,
Okay.
probably.
So, judging by their presence and the fact that Centron is very independent, and Tenkai, I believe, is based off of, what did we say?
I don't think you ever told me where they were based.
Faron 2, your home planet. Judging by the fact that like they don't have a big presence here, you probably have not run into them actually in any sort of like any sort of capacity where they were investigating or looking for you. The only presence they have on this station is like a sales kiosk, and that's about it. So while it's very, very suspicious that they would have chased you at least up until you got here over the period of 3 or 4 years, that means like there's something really going on that you don't know about, and that they probably have some people out there looking for you. Like if it's been this long, they're not just going to limit it to their world, but they certainly don't have jurisdiction, and they don't want to piss off Centron. And there's just literally too many people here. You probably haven't really found anybody here that's been hot on your trail. You might have been getting a little bit, like easy here for a while. Like this is maybe the first time in quite a while that you haven't felt like you had to constantly look over your shoulder. But just simply judging by the fact that how long they've chased you thus far, you can be reasonably sure that they will continue chasing you for an indefinite amount of time. And the only way you can determine how long you have to run is going to be to either discover what sort of data or reason, like why they are chasing. You're basically just going to have to determine why they are chasing you. There's a lot of different ways you can do that, but you're going to have to determine why they're chasing you. And once you find that out, if you find that out, then you can say, oh, well, if it's this reason, they won't chase me forever. But if it's something super crucial, maybe they will chase you for years to come. And in finding out why exactly they're after you will give you an idea as to how long they'll chase you and to what lengths they're willing to go to. So I would think that would be a very, very key goal for you, at some point at least.
Yep, probably so.
And like my suggested way of fulfilling your take successful action to evade Tankai Corporation, I think you basically have to be in a situation where you know they are actively looking for you, and that if you fail, they will find you. So actually, I think this is probably worth more than 400. Now, if you fail in this, the reason why I put successful action here when I was editing it a little bit is, let's say they show up on Centron, and you're trying to take successful action to evade them, and you fail. Well, you're not going to get totally screwed over because, sure, they're going to know where you are, but as soon as you slip their grasp, that will count as successful action to evade them. So you will get the XP there. So it's either you totally dodged them and they never knew you were there and you get the XP, or they do know you were there and then you lose them.
Alright. Because, like, when I wrote the goals out, I kind of expected he hadn't actually gotten off the planet yet. And then I was like, oh, well, you're on Centron. Well, I was like, yeah. Let's see how that works out.
As far as Victor's question, Centron is Tech 4.
Oh, is it Tech 4 for him?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's awesome.
So yeah, Victor. Yeah.
Any world capable of creating like spaceships and light drives is usually Tech 4.
Wasn't there like another like sub-world around here that's Tech 3 or something? I can't remember.
That's in...
I know my home world's
There's
Tech 3.
several other worlds with Tech 3.
Short story, Victor, if you're buying equipment, you can buy Tech 4.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was looking to. If we get any money before we leave this area, there's a couple small items I'm looking to pick up, like a hollow projector and an Agnes web or an Argus web and a few things like that.
Yeah, a lot of your starting or your initial earnings will probably go to individual purchases, like stuff you really wanted to get right off the bat but you couldn't afford. You're probably not going to be making a shit ton of money at the beginning, but again, I can't know what you're going to do. Maybe you guys rip off a bank. So, I don't know. Eventually, maybe you guys will pool your money to put a down payment on some sort of ship. You don't even have to do that. There's always interstellar travel that you can just book. And you never have to feel like you have to go, like, oh, we had an adventure on this planet, now we have to move to the next one. One key thing about this is I'm going to be keeping track of who you've interacted with and what you've done on every planet. And so you guys could literally adventure on Centron for 3 or 4 sessions before ever moving off. And you guys could come back here in the future, and it will have changed, and some of the people there that you interacted with will still be there. Some of them might have moved on, and you'll have the chance to interact with them again.
Same thing as we do jobs for people, they might like or hate us more depending on how well we do in the job.
Yeah, that's definitely a key thing. In each of my prepared adventures, there is a section for possible rewards. Under that, I've got XP, money, potential loot, but a giant chunk of it is potential friends and enemies made. And oftentimes those will be more valuable than the actual rewards that you will be getting. Like, it would pay to have a friend in customs or something. Like, that could really come in handy. Or like, maybe you know somebody who can get you, like, who is part of the arms trade, and you could basically kind of use that contact later to find some rare weapon or maybe get weapons for cheap. So, like, the contacts that you make are going to be very important. And just as much as the enemies that you're going to make. Like, each is going to have, like, benefits and negatives and stuff. And one other thing, I guess we hadn't touched on, is due to the nature of communication in Stars Without Numbers and then our kind of custom universe. It's often described as Age of Sail level communications. Before the gate collapse and stuff, they had what you would basically think of as like a galactic internet that was instantaneously transmitted through these teleportation gates. But ever since those went down, everything is basically carried by ships, and news that you're going to get from someplace 6 days worth of jumps away is going to be 6 days old. In-system news will be like, at the speed of light, like as fast as you can send it. And kind of touching on that, if you guys do something in a certain system, not only will you not necessarily be known for it in another system or wanted for it in another system because they might have different governments, but they might not find out about it for a while. And there's even going to be cases where there's different governments within the same system, and you guys could wreak havoc on one world, whether intentionally or accidentally, and go to the other one, and the authorities are not going to give two shits. This can be kind of a negative for you if you're trying to contact somebody on another planet. But, there's it's just the way it is.
Which adds some interesting things too, because that means that you do something bad, the world might not necessarily know for a while. Quote, quote.
Yep.
But it'll get there eventually. Any other questions about characters? Anything about equipment? Anything of that nature?
I think my sheet's set up correctly now. If anyone sees any problems, definitely let me know, though, for sure.
Good luck.
Oh, I see I gained an extra hit point because of the +1 to Constitution. That's cool.
Yep. Mind you, that only applies once. So when you roll 2d6 at the next level, you still only get +1.
Ah, copy that. That's cool.
I just noticed you had it at 6, and you had your con at +1.
Decent amount of hit points.
A custom background and a custom training? Or is it not custom training anymore?
I took the engineering background, but I substituted gambling for computers and switched the engineering skill from PosTech to astronautics because I was talking to Star, and PosTech really doesn't seem like it would fit the description of what that class is supposed to do. Astronautics does stuff.
Just asking because I was counting skill when you had 10, so I was like, oh, if you took custom is 9. But yeah, if you took a 4-pointer, that would make sense.
I did custom and then engineer. Or engineer and then custom, rather.
You have 8 for armor because you don't have any armor.
Probably should be on the eventually acquire list, but...
Well, it's worth noting that there isn't that much armor that probably would not be out of suspicion, quote, quote, walking down the street, but,
Yeah, because as far as the armors go, like, Falser and I have leather jackets, but those don't do anything to, like, a bullet, for example.
Spec 3 or higher, it doesn't affect anything.
Like, like, to actually have something that you can wear every day that actually has an effect, you need to get, like, it's a, There's literally like an armor that's built to wear under something. What's it
It
called?
was like nano weave, something or something like that.
Armored undershirt.
But
Armored undersuit is
but
the
it's
only armor
expensive.
that you can wear that someone can't see, and it only gives you an armor class of 2 less than normal.
Copy that. It's pretty cool, actually. I'm totally down with not having to go out and buy high-end armor.
Now, stuff like the assault suits the assault suit gives you an armor of 2, but it looks obviously like you're walking down the field in a full-powered suit, and it's 6,000 credits. But,
Oh yeah, I wouldn't even own either
Yeah,
one.
it's
If I do get an exosuit, to be honest, I'll probably get an industrial one. I mean, I could potentially arm it down the line, but I'd probably get if I was to acquire a suit, I would get one for
exosuits
working
are
on engines.
10k credits.
Yeah,
They're even
exactly.
more.
Not on my immediate to buy list. I mean,
unless Star
probably...
makes it, the book doesn't have a listing for industrial quote suits. They're all combat suits.
I figure. If
I
you
know. I
get a
know.
ship,
The way it's described, there should be one, but it would probably just some kind of modified vac suit, more than what they would define as an actual assault suit for armor.
if we get a starship, I'm assuming that it's probably got to have at least one of those suits on board.
Not unless
From
you
the
buy 'em.
description. I mean, from the description, we would need one to even like modify the engine.
Yeah,
so
but
I think we would have to pick
The
one up
ship
before we
doesn't
figure
come
out.
with them. You have to buy them separately.
Oh yeah, I think we'd have to probably pick one up before we
Mind
even
you,
lift off.
the
otherwise
vac
we
suit
would-
is cheap compared to actually buying the ship. So
Yeah,
the
it's
vac
kind of why I
suits
figure
are
that.
100 credits each. The ship is like 750,000 at its cheapest, roughly.
I don't even need to own the suit personally. Is what I mean. If we end up getting a ship down the line, I figure that we'll probably have to pick an exosuit up if we're going to work on the engine. From what I've read, how the engines work here, so.
Well, that's what vac suits are for. The vac suits include rad filters.
I think you need the ability to pick up and move really, really heavy objects, from what I can understand too, to
Well,
work on
the
engines
the
here.
power armors actually don't even apply. Don't even give that to you.
Yeah, by default, power armor increases your carry capacity, but it's not said because it's increased by strength. I take it to mean, by the way, I read the description, it's because it's got like, a full-on backpack, and it's got like big panels built into the thighs with like, compartments and stuff. That's not to say that I would not put a power armor or an exosuit that would give you a +1 to strength when wearing it, but it's not there by default.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I was reading in the description. It sounds like the exosuits were for like lifting really, really heavy machinery and surviving the radiation. For at least the engineering ones that you would use in to repair the engine, for example. Which is the kind of suit I'm really mostly interested in. I'm not really necessarily looking to go out and get a combat suit anytime soon.
Have you had a success in avoiding the authorities and stuff like that?
What? Sorry.
I mean, you obviously don't walk around telling people that you're building an AI, do you?
Oh, no.
I mean, you could, but
It doesn't say they require any, but something you might consider buying, Victor, is some Type A power cells. So right now you've got a compad and data slab with no batteries.
I thought those were rechargeable. Let me take a look.
they are. But if you ever get into a situation where you don't have a place to charge it,
Oh, yeah. I should probably definitely pick
And
up
they're
one
only
battery
10 credits
as well.
each.
Put those on my list. I'm gonna add those to my list.
Type A power cells. They're insanely cheap.
there's Type A and then there's Type B, and Type B is like car battery. Type A is like, a power pack you'd use to charge your phone or something. That's what I equate it to. Like you have those, like this is a 12,000 milliamp hour Omni battery with a USB port. That's what that's what I equate them to. But other than that, it looks pretty good, Victor, from what I can see anyway.
Added power cells to my shopping list here. Thanks for pointing that out. Definitely worth picking up. I have enough money to buy any of that stuff before we leave the planet. I probably will pick some of it up. Might have enough for the power projector and
You
some
took
power
combat energy. Do you have a sidearm that you carry or anything?
Not at the
Like
moment.
a laser pistol?
I figure I would have had one assigned since I've probably been working on various ships. I'll probably fill that out in the background, but I figure I would have had one in the past, like when I was assigned to ships, but I don't have one at the moment. Like I have no personal weapon that I own or anything.
You're doing something that's basically considered illegal. I think you might want to have something like that in case shit goes south.
Kind of look at it like, like a lot of hackers today, for example, even if they're doing illegal stuff and hacking government websites, probably aren't packing. So I kind of figure that you probably wouldn't be carrying a weapon just yet. The main reason I took the energy is because I figured that going to have to be trying out his design sooner or later on the distortion weapons. But I agree.
Other than that,
owning a sidearm. A sidearm is something that I would buy if it becomes a potentially available item to me, but this isn't something I would think you would probably own personally.
Yeah, that's totally, reasonable.
If we're gonna go around in a ship getting in trouble, he'll probably pick one up for sure, but I just figure at the moment he wouldn't be carrying.
Well, the thing is, my argument was that you never really know when you're going to get in trouble, so to speak.
No, but you can't.
But does
don't
Econ
game that.
see it that way? Is the thing.
I will start punishing people if they start just gaming it. And conversely, I will reward people if they take action that, like starting out without a weapon. It doesn't make sense for somebody who's a mercenary, but it does make sense for somebody who does not expect in their average life to get into trouble.
Or at least expect to shoot their way out of it. If a couple even regular just beat cops showed up at this guy's door, he'd pretty much be outgunned in a gunfight, probably. So
I see this guy going like, cop showed his door. Ah, yes.
Right.
What can I do for you, officer?
Akari
sends kill code to computer.
Regarding skills,
Yes,
all
I'm very confused.
all skills are regarded as untrained and left blank unless you have training in them. The only difference between class skills and non-class skills are how much it costs to put points into them. So, looking at your skills right now, all of those are listed as untrained. Now, let's say you got a background package that gave you combat projectile, and you would basically put a 0 there. And that would mean you are trained. And it means that you do not take a negative modifier when attempting to use that skill untrained. It means like you can use that skill without any sort of penalty.
And you don't start with any skill points, so at level 1 you don't have to worry about cost to raise. You're just looking at a background and a training package.
And let's say you get combat projectile from your other training package, then you would basically, since those stack, you would have combat projectile 1, which means you get a +1 to any sort of combat projectile roll.
Right.
If you are attempting to train in a non-class skill, which on your sheet are represented by the ones with the solid red boxes.
Right, yeah.
Non-class skills are on, or the skill training costs are on page 65 of the book, but to just read it out to you, to train to level 0 in a class skill costs 1 point. For non-class it costs 2. To jump up from level 0 to level 1, it costs 2 points for class and 3 points for non-class. So like it kind of goes up from there. Every class skill goes up by 1 point. Every non-class skill goes up by 1 point, but it's like in addition. So the non-class skills are always more expensive, but you can always train them.
Okay.
It's also worth noting you cannot have a skill level of higher than 1. Like, to get a level 2 skill, you need to be at least level 3.
Yeah, you have. That would, to put it simply, your skill cannot be higher than your level.
Yeah. Okay. There's a prerequisite character level in order to get
Yeah.
a skill of certain level.
It just means that you can't have a level 3 in a skill unless you are level 3.
Well, the chart says level 6 for level 3.
Does it?
Yeah, it's in the same
Oh
chart.
yeah. I guess
Yeah.
there is a difference for that.
And then the purchase cost in skill points increases with skill level.
Well, that basically means if you want to buy a skill at rank 3, it costs more than the listed. It would cost if you were to buy a nothing to a rank 2, it would cost, let's see, for a class skill 1, 3, it would cost you 6 points to get a rank 2 from 0.
Oh, okay.
And then you'd have to pay someone credits to actually train you to that level of skill.
Yeah, then you have to
And
pay
that
some of
and
the
that
trainer
is
cost.
why your starting packages are so important, because you can feasibly get up to rank 1 in a cross or a non-class skill without having to pay. That would be normally
5.
that would normally be 5 points. So like if you got tech medical in your background and tech medical in your training, you would start out with a rank 1 in tech medical, even though it is a non-class skill for you.
Yeah, it's worth noting 5 doesn't sound like a big number, but as a warrior or a psychic, you only get 2 skill points every level. As an expert, you get 3.
The experts advance a little bit faster and they get more skill points, but it's because they're not really better.
Yeah,
terribly well at
that's
combat.
their thing. Yeah.
And they don't get combat skills at all as a skill, unless we take them as cross-class.
Yeah. So it's what you pick is very important in determining, what you start out with. If you're really concentrated on getting non-class skills, it's really useful for like experts who
Like, if
want
you
to
wanna
have at
be-
least one combat skill.
If you wanted to be a soldier who had computer skill, you'd want to pick a background that has computer skill somewhere.
Right.
It might be like, Astro Navigator's Mates
So-
or something, but,
The background skills that you get with that package, those skills count towards what this table is calling a class skill. That just a purchase cost to upgrade those is
You,
what
When
it would be
when
in
you're buying
no?
background and training, you may as well act like costs don't exist.
you just pick a combat. You don't have to worry about the costs at all for the backgrounds. You just pick a background and pick a training and put the skills that you have in the table.
I think what he was asking though is if you get to level 1 in something, because of your backgrounds, from that point on, like in order to advance it, you do have to treat it like you paid the points. And so, like, in order to get to a level 2, you would have to pay 3 or whatever.
Like, for example, if you get a 0 in a cross-class skill from your background, that does not make it a class skill for you. You still have to pay
Yeah.
the cross-class cost to go from 0 to 1.
Okay, that makes more sense.
It just means
Okay.
you somehow got knowledge of this skill some other way in your past.
Yeah, and it's explained by your backgrounds.
So basically, you can get some skill in it as part of your background, but it will still cost you a crap ton to increase.
For example, Twitch, being a psychic, gets very few class skills. But, like, all but 2 of my skills are cross-class. Right now.
Yeah, because of the backgrounds that he chose.
Mind you, the psychic doesn't get a whole lot of actual class skills, but... Like, I get combat sci-tech, tech medical, tech sci-tech, both of which are tech 5, and thus I can't start with them. Culture, history, perception, and profession. That's it.
So if you want to be a computer savvy mercenary versus a thug, you want to pick at least computer 0 somewhere in your background, which would basically be anything that lists the word computer one time. Basically, if your background lists it at all, you put a 0. If both your background and your training package say computer, you put a 1 because they stack up. It's basically you have to decide which skills you'd like to have, and then you pick a background to coordinate with those skills choices.
You can basically do it one of two ways. You can decide which skills you're interested in, and then pick backgrounds and trainings to match the ones that you want. Or you can do organically and decide, okay, now what did my guy do in the past, and then you can see what that gives me.
Yeah. So you pick these background packages, and that's just kind of a freebie buy-in for your first set of skills, and then after that, those don't
The background and training determine
factor in
your
a whole
skills
lot. That's
at
mostly
level 1.
after level 1. It's just
level
what are
1,
your class
everything is
skills,
paid.
and that just
Yes.
determines the cost. Okay.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason why we said that a character at level 1 does not have a huge disadvantage over someone who's level, say, 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Because you're given quite a few skills at level 1 through your packages.
Yeah, the advancement after that is fairly slow.
By the same token, your enemies aren't particularly skilled either.
Yeah, and the biggest difference between levels is HP. But then again, it's not guaranteed that you're going to go up in HP. So even then, it's not like crazy.
Yeah, and if you're not being shot at, HP isn't even a factor.
Yeah.
And I'll give you guys an example. Expert enemies of your approximate level are going to have 4 HP. So like you could one knife them and that would be it.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Being as the knife does D4.
Yep.
Whereas they're probably not going to survive a shotgun shell, which does 3d4. They could, but they'd be terribly lucky.
The triple 1 of death. But,
By the same nature, if I ever got into such a horrible situation that I would end up using a shotgun against someone in combat armor, I won't want me to do anything against that at all. Because the standard shotgun's only Tech 2.
You'd have to start using roleplay tactics, like
Yeah.
lead them past some sort of volatile thing.
DM, can I use telekinesis to pull their weapon out of their hands?
and DM will be like, oh, maybe.
Right. So, are there any current questions, Akari or Victor, about character creation, or anything to do with your characters at all? Like I know Victor's is pretty much squared away.
Like, if you want a custom homeworld, you want to talk to Star right now.
Yeah.
I
And
think what I'll do is I'll probably write up a little backstory and drop you a message with it, because I have a few ideas of how to take care of it. I just wanted to wait to kind of find out where we were and where we were starting,
Yeah.
so I could kind of lead it to that point.
there
I think I
are
can fill that out
there
pretty
are
quick.
worlds of pretty much every tech level but 5 in this sector. The tech levels 0 through 3 are not exactly prominent on the galactic stage. They're kind of backwaters.
Does the UP3 exist in this civilization?
UP3.
Underdeveloped Planet Protection Pact. It's from a
Oh.
different game.
No,
Are there
definitely not.
legislations against people
De-
coming in and
definitely
fucking up the small
One
planets?
I know
one
I've
thing
done some. Oh, good.
one thing mentioned in the rule book is you guys could go to some primitive planet and just rule like kings, but
Yeah, we
You're gonna
could.
be ruling
but
like
the question
kings
is it
and not
illegal
really-
to do so?
no, there's no legality there.
Just out of
Uh,
curiosity, because it like the game that comes from it actually is illegal to do that.
Well, not this one.
That's awesome.
um,
I'm just asking.
Well, you've asked. Like you guys could do that, but you have to ask yourself, what are you actually getting out of that? Like that planet might be too primitive to mine resources. So like
Well, that's
maybe
why
you get a
that's-
lot of
that's
women,
why.
but that's about it.
Because what they do it for in that is so people can't influence the development of that planet.
Yeah. Well, definitely
Yeah.
not. This is
Okay.
not Star Trek. No Prime Directive.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
I think about the only question I have left. Actually, I dropped you some PMs about tracking the AI development. That's about the only question I had left.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the AI. I guess I'll probably handle this much in the same way that I handled Cloud's droid. Not a true AI. Like you kind of described it, it's like a chess computer mainly. Any more advanced, and you are going to have something really big ass to run it.
Yeah, I've got a few ideas. I might pursue different things in character to try to expand the processing power behind it.
Mhm.
You know, add bigger equipment and stuff. But right now, I have it set up as a. I kind of edited the sheet just now, and I gave it basically 3 intelligence instead. And
Yeah,
put it
that's
down as
that's doable. Yeah, that basically represents like anything that is capable of perceiving the world around it in some fashion has wisdom. Anything that is capable of differentiating itself from its surroundings has charisma, and anything that it is able to think in some way has intelligence. So obviously you wouldn't have any strength, dex, or con. It's the same. It's very, very similar with Max, the robot. On the plus side, if you don't have stats there, you don't have to make saves for it. So like you don't have to roll a con check to resist a disease or something. At the current point, like, you know, it's not going to be getting XP per se. I'm going to have to think about actually leveling this up as an expert. It's an interesting idea. I'll have to give that some thought. We might do it like that.
I figured I'd kind of play it by ear. I just mostly made a sheet just to kind of as a starting point, as an idea on how to track it. But I'm totally open.
It's a highly interesting idea. We might do it like this. I may end up basically moving this sheet to a GM only thing, to where you probably won't see it, because if it is at some point intelligent, if it is not your character, you're not going to have control over it. You're going to have like a lot of impact because you're the one that created it, but you're not going to have specific control over this being.
You might not know what it's doing.
Yeah.
In fact, I was going to say that at any point, I'm more than okay with it kind of taking on goals and objectives of its own. Yeah. And I'm definitely not expecting it to just kind of do everything for me. I'm 100% okay with backfires.
It's not going to be able to develop any further than it is, as it is. So like teaching it and providing it examples is good, but you're basically going to have to come up with something that can run the program to a higher extent. Like it is maxed out. If you guys ever get a starship or something, you'll have the opportunity to do that, and maybe load it into the computer core. It may take some upgrading to the computer core. At that point, once it has enough processing power and stuff, at that point it will be able to start learning, like you were saying.
I know that one thing that I was thinking about doing in character, if it's a while before we get to a processing power of that, is possibly trying to buy some more data slabs and network them together to try to increase its processing power.
Well, I think it's more the fact that the data slab doesn't have that much processing power to start with.
Yeah, I can't find any just regular computer. That seems like about as close as I can find.
Well, even if you did, AIs are not they're going to take massive amounts of processing power.
Oh, absolutely.
So you could feasibly, if you guys are on a planet for a month, maybe one day one of you guys, decides to peek into Akron's. Is it Akron or Akron?
Akron.
Peek into Akron's like apartment, and there's like pizza boxes everywhere, and then he's got like 30 networked compads, like all like strung together or something. At that point, you might be able to do a little bit with it, but it's not really going to be able to develop.
The problem that comes up with that, Victor, is you have to individually power all those compads, and then if it loses that processing power, it might have issues.
Well,
we would handle that in a situation.
Yeah, just noting, but
I'm basically entirely okay with things not going my way. I'll just probably be throwing out kind of, in-character things to try to upgrade things as I go along, but at the same time, if they don't work or they backfire, I'm not going to be disappointed on it. I mean, it's just, I'll probably be trying all kinds of crazy things to enhance things as they go along, and if they don't work, they don't work. I'm totally cool with that.
One thing I will recommend is that at some point, if you are ever actually able to get this AI off the ground, you could totally start switching some of your goals to like see the AI do this or like see the AI do that, and those you could get a substantial amount of XP or something like that, even though you are no longer like personally developing the AI and it's no longer in your control. Because you put so much work into it at that point, you would still basically be able to get XP from it as long as you're doing it intelligently.
Well, that's cool. I definitely might take advantage of that, too. I figure it could just be some nice long-term goal for the character and things to work with that way. So that'll be pretty cool, man.
So yeah, you got like some like a short-term and a couple mid-term goals. To give you an example, if you had a goal on there that says like create the AI, like something very, very generic but like all-encompassing, like see the AI become sufficient and work on its own. That would be a massive amount of XP. That'd be like more than 10k XP, probably more. You'd get a couple levels out of that.
Might reword the first goal I have on my list is just develop the AI to make it a little more clear about the specific goals of it.
Yeah, well, you're free to do either way. You can have general goals and have them be worth more XP because it might take longer to fulfill those conditions, or you can have more specific ones, and it's all based on time, effort, and risk. It's basically how I look at the goals and assign XP.
I figure there'd probably be all kinds of risks developing something like this.
Oh, you have no idea. If you were in the independent systems, I'd probably double all of the even extraneous amount, like large amounts of XP you are already going to be getting for this. Like doing it, like developing an AI within the Galactic Union would be like worth like several levels. Like you'd probably jump from like level 4 to like level 7 maybe. So things are not nearly as strict, but it's less that the independent systems are willing to deal with Maltech and more that they're just like there's not nearly as much oversight, which will definitely play in your favor. And just simply having that is your character's goal has so much risk that you've got the risk, but anytime a character takes some sort of risk to further the game, to further their role play or something like that, I'm not going to go easy on you, but I'm going to give you benefits in some other fashion, and not just XP.
That definitely sounds cool, man. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this plays out. Definitely, I'm very, very aware it could blow up in my face at any moment. So that's
it'll
totally
be entertaining
cool if
if it
happens.
does.
Yeah, the thing is, the experience points are so high for this kind of thing, because if this blows up in your face, it's more like it's blowing up in the galaxy's face.
It could. You may have to keep this a secret from your party, which would be really interesting to see happen.
Well, he's definitely probably not going to announce it in character for a considerable amount of time.
Well, it'll be
until
like
it
we're on a
becomes,
spaceship, and all of a sudden
unavoidable.
somebody's talking to us through the computer, and we're like, "What the fuck?"
I'm just
Somebody
gonna
on the
say
ship
Spaceship
starts
to
to
jump
shut
and it
down.
refuses.
your character probably would want to feel out the attitudes of the individual crew members before making any sort of like, hey guys, I'm developing an AI in my room, and everybody's jaw just drops and they're like, what?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I can't let you do that, Victor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that would be kind of the way that might play out. So
And then
he's
your
gonna
AI
definitely
goes,
be very
"In my
quiet
own
about it.
interest, I can't let you tell them that." Oh.
And then there's just like whoever has bridge duty gets like a tiny little, flashing light somewhere that says like airlock pressure fluctuation.
Look at you, hacker, running through my corridors of panting and sweating.
Twitch,
Oh, let's
you,
hope it
you
doesn't
get a
go that
sense
direction,
if in
Victor.
60 seconds your life could be threatened.
Which you get a sense that you should run for an O2 canister now.
As far as factions, by default, you guys aren't going to be a part of a faction, but like let's say Akari's character, he's the one that I can most readily think of, is like maybe I know you were talking about being formerly part of a mercenary group. You could still technically be a part of it, and that would basically be it. But by default, you guys are going to be, independent, unassociated, whatever you want to call it. It's not to say you couldn't start out as part of a faction, but that's up to you. And there would be consequences for that.
I think I might list a faction, but it's not gonna mean anything. I think.
You could put it down under your notes, like you were part of this faction or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or if your faction was destroyed, and you're like the last remaining member. Like you could put that down as
Faction of one. Oh yeah.
Maybe you're starting a new mercenary company. Then you would be faction of one.
That should be your faction. Faction of one.
And then you can just play it off to the rest of your party members like you're part of a much bigger group.
Yeah.
But you're actually just yourself.
See, I'm a member of this faction. You've
Akari
never
group
heard
does
of
not-
it, but you really should have.
What, you guys haven't heard of us before?
The Akari group does not negotiate with terrorists. And the Akari group policy.
I mean, you can literally do stuff like that.
See, that's when
silly.
the computer
I might
tech
need to do
guys
that.
go, searching Akari group. No such group found.
Oh, it's
Oh, fuck you, computer.
It's just
Yeah.
totally secret.
Yeah,
There's no way.
The Akari group is off the grid, man. We have resources.
We don't use these things you call computers at all.
See, these computers, they're
That would be
weakness.
so
and
entertaining.
then your party would be all like, hey, Akari, can your group get us a hold of like item X?
And he starts.
Let me check
sweating.
with my people.
Yeah, he starts sweating in his helmet, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll see about it." Then he runs to
Checks
like the
bank
nearest.
account.
Yeah, like to the nearest bank account. And he desperately tries to pull this off by himself.
Oh, that would be hilarious though.
Well, I think it's good I have tech astronautics. I just was reading this section about it on spaceships. Oh my god.
Pretty much everything related to spaceships is astronautics. At least the hardware-wise, anyway.
Well, the other thing is, if you guys ever do get a ship, you don't have to fill all the crew functions yourself. You can, but like, if you guys are missing some key skill,
we don't have a navigator.
like navigation, you can hire one.
I mean, Victor's building an AI. He can fly the ship for us, right?
Oh god.
That's all kinds of wrong.
Yeah,
Plotting
that's...
course for nearest star.
All I have to say is,
Jettisoning.
if Victor ever builds an AI and we don't have lockdown and control of the comms, we're screwed.
It becomes Mass Effect, except if the computer had gone rogue, and it's like you're giving control over the ship to the AI, and then like, oh god, what have you done?
Now I have to spend all day computing pi because Victor, I'm plugged the Overlord.
Yeah.
or plugged in, or whatever it is.
Well, the more the point that if an AI had control of the computer, it could, example, establish comms and send itself anywhere else it wants to go.
Yeah, that's a thing. Victor, I'm trying to rearm the thug for Megamech, and I'm not finding weapons.
Right. So I was literally just gonna say this. This is approaching, I guess, the normal time where I would think we would end shooting for 4 to 7 to 7:30 ish Eastern time. So 3 to 3.5 hours to give people playing Megamech, you know, 2 hours and an hour and a half between the two games.
That sounds fine to me, man. I mean, this definitely works out for timing. There are some days I might not be able to make it, but for the most part, I should be able to make it.
Totally fine. Like, as we covered, levels are not the most important thing, and we can always, in almost every situation, just figure out what your character is doing, and why he is not part of the situation if you are not there. And since, you know, everything is goal oriented, you're probably not going to lose out on a whole lot. So
cool, man.
If you guys want to start heading out to, you know, get something to eat or something to get ready for Megamech later, you know, you're more than free to. I will stick around if you are Akari, just to make sure you get everything squared away with your character. It doesn't have to be now. You know, just before next week. If you want to just do it right now, I will be here.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything else tonight, so maybe some Planet Side later.
Yeah, I've been meaning to hit that up on the week with you, man. It's been a crazy week. I've been on weird hours, but
It's actually been pretty crazy for us too. So
definitely been planning on hitting it up again sometime soon during the weekday and catch up with you there. Should be pretty fun.
I actually just bought a subscription today, so
Yeah,
played freebie previously.
almost all my unlocks are Vanu, so I'll be able to. I mean, I won't be starting exactly from scratch if I pop onto Connery.
Nice,
so,
yeah.
including the wonderful one-hit kill knife that's just a complete blast. So,
What were we playing? What were we playing on before? I can't remember.
we were playing on. What was? You know what?
Connery, right?
We were playing on Connery. It's Emerald. I was thinking of as where Connery's playing, right?
Yes.
Yep. I'm kicking myself. I had
Emerald.
I had a character there that I deleted because I was
It
thinking
used to be 2 different servers, and I can't remember. It was like Watersons and something else, and they merged them, or something like that.
Copy that. Yeah, I'll definitely stop by and hit that up with you sometime. Probably tonight I'm going to be doing Megamech, but sometime this week, though.
Yeah, I'm trying to outfit this thug for tonight, and we don't have PPCs, so it's like, what can I use?
We out of PPCs, really?
I do not see
We
any on the
didn't have
dropship.
We don't have any normal PPCs.
Because they weigh 7 tons each, we didn't bring that many.
Yeah, Atham was after normal PPCs as well.
It looks like we have large lasers, and I have mediums in my box. That's about what I got. I pulled the 2 SRM-6s that were on a Pegasus in the last salvage. But other than that, I'm kind of looking around, not finding too much. Sorry if I diverged onto Megamech just now.
Oh, no problem, no problem. I'm just glancing at it now so I can tell you what the setup's. It sounds like we're just finishing here, just trying to jack it up here.
If you guys want to talk Megamech, you can hop up.
Yeah, we'll drop off. Megamech channel.
User left your channel.
Well, see
Thanks
you guys later.
Thanks for hosting, by the way, man. I'll definitely looking forward to actually starting up next Sunday.
Yeah, I'm really optimistic that this could be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, me too. It looks like it could be a blast. I'm definitely looking forward to trying it out, man.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right, catch you in a bit.
User left your channel.
Yep, I'll go ahead and stop recording then.
All right, cool.